And we are live. Welcome everyone to the live stream today. I'm super pumped for all of you to be here. It is a beautiful Saturday morning here in Southern California, and I'm glad that you're here to join me. And so I want to just recognize people in the chat. Also, if anyone's here right now, just let me know if you can hear me. That's always the best way to start this live stream, just to make sure everything is working out the way we want it to. I see that Ahmad is here with first. He certainly is first, and thank you so much, Ahmad, for always being first and commenting first on my channel when my videos drop every Monday at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We have Sendo in the house here. Sendo says, "Oh, I think that he is the one that is next here in the chat," and Ahmad is here saying, "I can hear you perfect. Thank you for that." Ridley is also here. Thank you for being here, Ridley. He can hear you clearly. Sendo sounds good. Perfect. Okay. And everything is starting to come in now. Sendo, thank you so much for confirming. So we got 3 people confirming that the audio is good. So I think we're in a good spot. We also have DC Gemini in the house here from Washington, D.C. Here you just fine. Excellent. Outstanding. We also have Chan Duval in the house. Thank you so much for being here, sir. As well as Mr. Bobby Yakuzo. Thank you so much for being here. And of course, thank you for being a channel member. We had a lot of great questions in the community post today, actually a lot more than I expected, and really blew me away. A lot of these questions are very complex in nature and they're very detailed. And so we'll go into them in some more detail and make sure that we can be able to answer the questions in the right way. Of course, we're also going to answer questions in the live stream as well. If you have any, please comment them as well, because that would be something that we could answer too, kind of in the meantime, we're, taking a break from the presentation, the slideshow. John McKinstry is here in the house. Hey, Stan, good to see you, sir. And thanks for joining me on this Saturday morning, as well as Sojuice is also in the house saying hello to everyone that is here. And so at this point, it doesn't look like there's any questions in the live chat. So we'll just move right away into our presentation, which is good because we do have a lot of questions to cover in today's live stream. Mojo is also here. He says, hello, sir. Hello. And so again, a lot of great questions today. And so let's kind of cover them in detail. First of all, I want to mention that Mr. Zizis Christ, big fan of the channel, has also left a post saying he wished he had gone live on Wednesday, which I didn't do because I had to go to work. But I am here this Saturday, so hopefully all of you can enjoy the live stream while we're here, as well as my boy Nkosi, who says looking forward to it. He's also a channel member for at least a year, and it's been great to get to know him as well. And of course, if you'd like to support the channel memberships are always there to have you be here and to help us, bring more value to these live streams. Also, Dalton has entered the house. What's up, Stan? Good to see you, Dalton. Always here in the live streams and always asking some very good, informative questions for everybody. So thank you so much for being here. The Traveling Hatter says hello, all. And so thank you also for being here, Mr. Traveling Hatter. And so with that being said, I want to go over this first question. Now, Robert, thank you so much for being a channel member. And so I put your question up in the front. I did get this question on the community post about 45 minutes ago, so I really couldn't put any more graphics alongside with this question, but it is a kind of a longer question. I think it may be worthwhile to kind of dig into it a little bit just to see what's going on, and I will give you some general thoughts about it as I was reading it about 30 minutes ago. And so basically what you say is you retired in March, and although your time for travel is increasing, your cash flow is decreasing, which tends to happen when you are retired, and you have too much spend spread throughout too many systems. I think that's a big problem for a lot of different people. And he currently has a fully functioning Amex, Citi, and Capital One setup. So that's 3 full setups. And card fees he's considered shedding are the Amex Gold, which is, I guess, top of everyone's mind at this point. The Schwab Platinum, Hilton Aspire, Delta Platinum, Citi Premier, and Capital One Venture X. He also has a Wells Fargo Choice Preferred card, which he seems to get a lot of value from, and a bunch of no annual fee cards like the Saver One, Citi Custom Cash, and Double Cash, and the Discover card. He also has a U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve card that he's using less than he thought he would, and he has about 20 cards total. And so he is looking for an answer because he's coming under Chase 524 in December for the first time for about 5 years, which is, a big deal because that's a long time to be locked out of Chase cards. And he wants to think of adding some Sapphire cards, mostly for consistent travel categories, including transit and parking, abroad and travel protections. and he also wants to consider the Sapphire reserve for the protections, but that would actually add to his annual fees as well as his travel credits that he has to use from all his other different cards. And so the obvious thing he said would to get rid of the Amex Schwab card as well as the gold card, and then use a default foreign travel setup like the Capital One Duo plus the US bar. And so he's wondering kind of what he should do. And so given all of what you just said, Robert, I think you have to just take a step back and answer two specific questions. The first question is, what is your goal with these credit cards? Because I think once you figure out what you want to do with them, it can really hone in on what you want to do. Like you mentioned, you have the Amex setup, you have a Capital One setup, and you have a Citi setup, and they all have transfer partners. Are there any transfer partners that you're going to be able to use in a really good way, in a sense that you want to travel to these certain countries, or there's some kind of alliance you can use to use those points effectively? And so I think that's what I would go for, because you said your travel is increasing, and as a retiree, you do have a lot of opportunity to go travel, but you want to keep the expenses down, like you mentioned, because income is also less as before. Now, the second question is to understand how we look at credit cards in general. I've said this many times on my channel in many videos, but there really are three types of credit cards that you have. They're going to be your core credit card setup, which is your everyday spending setup. They're going to be your secondary setup, which is basically your benefits cards. So things like the Hilton Aspire, other Hilton cards, other hotel cards, or airline cards that have benefits. You're using those cards with maybe an annual fee, but there are benefits attached to it. So that's actually helpful for your setup, even though you may not spend on them, which is more of a card for your core setup. Also, cards like the Amex Schwab Platinum may fall in this category too. And the third category is going to be your bench cards. Those are cards that you have because there's no annual fee. You want them to increase your average age of accounts, or you are getting a sign-up bonus or a welcome offer card, and that card is just there for a year before it gets canceled. Right. And so if you think about those three different buckets of the credit cards that you have, you can really start to figure out a way for you to hone in on the setup that you want, as well as to really narrow down those annual fees. And also, it may be helpful to go through the annual fees and figure out which issuer is giving you the most annual fees. I guarantee you it's probably going to be American Express. But if those cards are giving you value from the benefit side, for example, the Hilton Aspire, that may be worth keeping around if you tend to stay at a lot of Hilton resorts and can use all the credits on the card. So that's something I would say about your specific situation. Again, I don't have any specific recommendation because I wasn't able to really dive deep into this question. But if you want to get some more information, I can definitely hop offline with you. We can talk about that in more detail. I do want to quickly address some questions in the chat here. I see my boy Traveling with LV is here in the house. What's up, Stan the Man? Can't stay for long, but I'll catch up with you later. We will. Actually, he lives in my area, so we'll be catching up later, so that'll be really fun, and then really fun to meet up with him. And it's always great to see, viewers and subscribers out in the open. And I've met actually a lot of you just in my own area, just walking around. So thank you so much for coming up and saying hi to me. If you ever see me in the airport or in the lounge or on the street or something, I'm always happy to say hello and just to chat about credit cards for a brief moment. Don't feel pressured or nervous that you're going to interrupt me with something. I'm always happy to see you guys and talk about our favorite topic, which is credit cards. Paulo Leo here is in the house. Hello, good to see you. Excuse me. He does ask me a question, though. How can I be sure that the Ritz-Carlton card still offers unlimited complimentary guests? My plan is to upgrade from the bound list in August, but I'd like to be sure about that. Thanks. So the Ritz-Carlton card offers a priority pass card. And so that priority pass card is exactly the same as the one offered on the Chase Sapphire Reserve, except that it cannot access the Austin Airport's Sapphire Terrace Lounge. Everything about those other priority pass differences are the priority pass, they're the same. So that also includes 2 free guests too. The thing with priority pass is that it is a variable hit and miss. And so some lounges do take 2 free guests and some don't. And so you have to go with a kind of a lounge by lounge basis. But for the most part, Priority Pass does say that you get 2 free guests with your Priority Pass membership card, but it's always important to ask the front desk just to make sure if that's the case or not. And so if you want to get a very powerful Priority Pass access, the Ritz-Carlton card is a great card to do that, because that card actually is able to get you pretty much the same benefits as the Chase Sapphire Reserve. However, the authorized users on the Ritz-Carlton are free, whereas the authorized users on the CSR are going to be $75 per user. and each user gets their own free priority pass. So if you want multiple authorized users with their own priority pass for free, that would be the best thing to do, is use that Ritz-Carlton card. Sendo says that he thinks everyone should use the point calculator tool. It shed a lot of light for me on what setups give the most value. Thank you for that recommendation. I actually haven't tried that before, so maybe it's worthwhile for me checking out. So I don't know if I just have to Google point calculator tool or there's some kind of website for that, but definitely if you have that, just drop it down in the comments. We'll check it out. Pima asks, if I product change to the Ritz, do I lose the unused 5 FNAs I got from the bound list, or do they remain until expiring? So it's a good question. I think kind of going through this more often, I've noticed both from my Chase Ritz-Carlton, my Marriott Bonvoy Brilliant, and my Marriott Bonvoy Business, all 3 of those cards for me, it took them approximately 8 weeks to deposit that free night certificate into my account in Marriott. And so the reason why that's important is because, of course, we're looking at those counters, like, you want to product change the Bonvoy bound list 12 months later to the Ritz-Carlton card, but you want to have that free night certificate populate into your account. And so it looks like the timing is going to be around 8 weeks after your annual fee renews. And so once it's in the account, it's not going to be taken away. But I think it may not populate if you product change before you see the FNC in your account. So that's what I would just watch out for. And something that I would just keep in mind. But yes, I think you would be able to keep it, but just make sure that they are actually physically in your account. Probably even better, they're already being used for something, or you deem it for some kind of redemption. That way you know that they're being used for something and they can't take that away. Jake Baudet, I hope I say the name right. Hi, Stan. Do you think the U.S. Bank Ultra Reserve is worth a Chase 524 slot? I'm at 324 this year after getting the AMX Gold, Chase Freedom Flex, and the Chase Sapphire Preferred. It depends on your situation, but in my opinion, I think it's always going to be yes. The mobile wallet category is so powerful. It also depends on what you think you're going to do, because myself, I'm more of a person that is okay with a hybrid cashback setup, like having some cashback, having some points. You have to realize that the U.S. Bank Ultra Reserve, and we'll get into more later in the video, is that it is a cashback card. There is no transfer partners. You get a flat, basically 4.5x points back on all of your spend, depending if you use it correctly for a mobile wallet spend only, or travel for 3x plus that 1.5x boost with real-time rewards. But it's not going to be the best, because there are some cards that are 5x for no annual fee, but you have to use a bunch of different cards. So this US Bank Ultra Reserve card is for those of you who want a simple, easy card that can give you the best cash back you can in a single device, right? And so that is what the power of the US Bank Ultra Reserve card is, understanding that those points will not be used for points, but they could be used for pretty much cash back right away on all of your travel type of redemptions. Dalton kind of comes in and says, Paulo, as of right now, the Ritz card allows unlimited guests at the Chase lounges only, not the stars. You just said exactly what I said. Perfect. So thank you for validating that. It's rumored to reopen to public apps in July, August. So might change. Oh, interesting. I would be interested to see it being open to new public applications. That will change the dynamic of this card completely. I don't know if it'll actually change like the actual card itself. Would they increase the annual fee, add or take away new benefits? We'll have to see what happens. But there have been so many changes this year in 2024 with credit cards. It's been very exciting and honestly very hard to keep up with. And so I think there's a lot of things for us to talk about, which is really, really cool. And so we'll have to see what happens in July. And we also have a lot of other rumors, like, for example, that white gold card from Amex, or maybe even that 120K ink preferred. Although that 120K is probably more likely to happen, because I've read online that some people have actually already gotten that bonus because of specialty special ways to get it and things like that. So They Hate Me says, to support auto approval for future cards, would you recommend decreasing overall credit limit if you have multiple 20K cards with an issuer with less than 1% reporting on each card? So I would say the answer to that is it varies. I would say no, but I will say for Chase, you may want to say yes. And here's why. For Chase cards, they obviously have a limit, but the limit is not the total number of cards, the total credit limit they allow to give to you, whatever that number is going to be. And so if you start to get a lot of high limit credit limit cards, then you may not be able to get a card that you want automatically because you've reached their limit. Now, there's two things that can happen. The first thing is they can deny you for the card. You call reconsideration, and you can just reallocate credit limit from an existing card into the new card, and they'll open the card no problem. What I've also seen, though, is that Chase can also auto allocate credit limit for you. And so if you open a card and there's not enough limit to go around, they have, in my experience, actually decrease your credit limit automatically to open up that card for you. The only reason why I say you may want to think about that is because they only do this within the personal realm and the business realm. So if you have, like, for example, a lot of a lot of business credit limit and you want to get a personal card, but they can't reallocate personal credit limit, then you can't get the card, right? So they have to figure out a way for you to get the business credit limit off of the higher limits and then put that to the personal. And the only way to do that is to actually you physically say, I want to decrease my business credit limit amount beforehand. And so that's kind of that complicated answer to that question. Hope that kind of made sense. But that is what I would recommend for your situation. I'm going to butcher this name so hard. So Penawat Fijar Wanit. Hope I said that right. Hi, what would be the best point/mile redemption for going to Thailand with a stopover in Japan from the USA? Right now, I found that using Airline points, it's 55K plus 5K for additional stopover, so it's 60K. And so it's going to depend on the airline, honestly. Airline, time of going, whether you're booking 11 months in advance or 5 months from now or 2 weeks from now. There's so many answers to this question that I think that it's hard to really pinpoint an exact thing unless you're looking for a specific redemption that is the cheapest. I also want to mention that I'm not the best person to ask about this since I don't fly internationally super often. I also ask a lot of my fellow content creators about this question, basically through direct message and questions like that, because they are very helpful. And some of them who do travel internationally very often have a lot of good strategies for that to figure that out. But I'm unfortunately not one of them. But I would just say that there are good ways to get to Thailand with a stopover in Japan. I'm not familiar with any of them personally. Dalton asks, Stan, do you think Wells Fargo will become more competitive, a more competitive lender and force Chase, Amex, Capital One to make changes to their products to compete? I think this is Wells trying to help fix their image. I don't know if you're referring to the Attune credit card coming out, but they do have a lot of great credit cards now with the Autograph Journey, and now the Attune, in addition to that active cash card. And so you can build a really great trifecta with their setups if you have the spend in those categories. But yes, I think that they are putting a lot of pressure on the other issuers to innovate, which I think is the biggest thing, because Wells Fargo, when they innovate, that forces other types of or other issuers to innovate as well. And that's actually just very good for us as consumers. And so hopefully that does stimulate that innovation so that other cards can become better for our purposes. So we want to get them more often. And so I think that is a good thing to look at. But yes, I do think that they are on the radars of the other issuers. Not necessarily they're going to freak out or anything, but I think that it's definitely put Wells Fargo on the map for sure. If Wells Fargo also wants to be competitive, they also have to hopefully approve more of their cards, because I hear a lot of the denials coming for the Attune card for various reasons. For example, there was a Reddit post about like having a Wells Fargo 524 situation. And so I don't know if that's true or not, but if they want to be competitive, they have to lower their ability to, or they have to increase their ability to approve their cards and basically lower denials. Robert J says, oh, thanks for coming in here. Thanks, Stan. The only transponders I usually use are Choice and Hilton. I don't care about airline luxury, although I hate to give up any lounge access. Then I think in that situation, for the question we talked about for you before, is to really just focus on what you can get with Choice. And I believe the Choice options are Citi and Wells Fargo. And they both have very affordable trifectas, especially that we just talked about that. And we'll actually go through this later on in the video too. And so I think that those would be the targets I would target for you. We have Mr. Juan Garcia in the house. Juan, I have your question lined up a little later in the live stream, but thank you so much for being here. And thank you so much also for being a channel member. Paul Leo says, thanks you very much. And then Richard Bullwinkle asks, assuming you have a Sapphire card to move points around, is the Freedom Unlimited with 2x point matching the best card available today? I managed to get it last year, hoping my player 2 will. I think, here's the thing. I think if you take the Chase Freedom Unlimited with that 2x multiplier, so I think it's like, it gives you 3x on everything and other stuff, depending on what you're looking at. If you could use that card the whole year and just destroy that, multiplier for the whole year, like you were coming out like way ahead, because there's no annual fee card. You have the Chase Sapphire Preferred to do it, to transfer out. So I think that would be a really good way to use that card. Kind of like when you had those original Freedom Flex and Freedom Limited, 5% cash back on groceries or gas for a year. Those are just phenomenal welcome offers. But I think the best way to get value out of them is to put as much spend on those cards throughout the whole year. That's probably the strategy that the banks are trying to use too, is that to have you put all your spend on one card for as long as possible. But based on the 2x thing you're talking about, when I looked at that welcome offer, I said, this is a great offer, but only if you decide to use a Chase Freedom Limited for a whole year. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. And then Max Collins says, I believe this is my first stream since the wedding. Congrats. Oh, thank you very much. We did get married a couple months ago. I am wearing my ring here. And so it's been a great time, and, it's great to be married, and it's time to, keep on moving, and, life goes on, but it was a really great time. So I appreciate you for recognizing that. Robert J says, one more. What do you think of travel protection on the US bar versus Chase and Amex? I think that they're all good. I think if I haven't really used any of them, so I can't really speak to them personally. I know that I've heard Amex is the best with customer service, and I think if I were to choose the three of them, I would go with Amex as the one that would give me the best travel protections. But it's going to depend on the individual variations of what's covered, what's the delay time, what's the amount that they can cover maximum. And so I haven't really delved deep into that yet, but I can tell you from personally, I generally book all of my air travel on an Amex card and all my hotel travel on like one of my hotel cards, which either will be Amex or Chase, depending on what I'm using. Monty is here. Monty, one of my fellow content creators. Thanks so much for stopping by. Definitely check out his channel if you haven't already. He's definitely saying he has a lot of great insights about the travel game. He says, Substan won't be able to stay for the entire live, but we'll be sure to watch the video later. Appreciate that. Definitely, sir. Killing it as always. I appreciate that so much. Here we go. Mr. V. Balasubramanian says US Bank also has double cash back once in a while. I actually didn't know that, so I have to check that out. But maybe you're talking about offers or something. But I have not seen that yet on my card, but I would love that. My man, Cesar Joel, Hermano Cesar is here. He's definitely a great content creator in the Spanish-speaking space. Also speaks very good English, too, which is really, really cool. So definitely love to see his work. Cesar Joe says, the man, the myth, the legend, mi hermano Stan. Well, thank you so much, Hermano Cesar. Thomas C says, morning, first time catching live stream. Well, I'm glad you're here, Thomas. It's going to be a really good one here. And then I think we're going to go up here to Scott. What are your thoughts using Plastiq? Trying to find out if I get an AA loyalty point status this way. 3% fee is negative with credit card, but looking at status benefits to offset the fee. So Plastiq, I personally, you have to make that judgment call for yourself. You have a 3% fee. So if you can get 3% cashback equivalent or higher, then it is worth it. If it is not going to get that, then it's not worth it. If it's the same, then it's basically not useful. The only thing that I can really see this being helpful for is when you get like a really good welcome offer and you want to just like use this for a welcome offer. That's what I would say I would use Plastiq for. Everyone's going to be different. They have different, risk tolerances. But I think that would be what mine would be. Andy says, Amex just denied me for the Hilton Aspire due to too many recent accounts and said reapply in 30 days. Should I wait longer or apply then? I mean, I am personally, because Amex doesn't give you a hard pull with your applications, I would go the Uncle Luke route and just apply in 31 days, because why not? I mean, it doesn't really hurt you. I mean, you just have to apply and see if they say yes or no, because there's no hard pull. And so that's what I would recommend to do. CJ is here in the house. Stan the man, keep being awesome, brother. Thank you, CJ. Appreciate you being you, sir. I didn't see you competing with Ahmad this morning, but Ahmad was first. I don't know if how that makes you feel or anything. Hopefully it doesn't make you feel too bad. But definitely, I'm really glad that you're here. John R. also in the house says, Stan, hey, John, thank you so much for being a member. And also, everyone check out John's channel. He is a great guy. He does just so much for the credit card community. He is always around to answer questions in the venture capital Discord. He's always commenting on all of our channels. He has a lot of great insights himself. And so definitely check him out if you can. Super nice guy. And again, John, thank you so much for being here and for being a member of the channel. And we have a super chat from Mr. CJ that says $2. Can't stick around, but keep up the good work. Thank you so much. I don't know when you did that, so sorry that I missed that. As well as John, who also did another $2 super chat. Thank you so much, Stan. Let's go. I really, really do appreciate that. And so there's that too. And so I do want to get started here on the presentations. I do have a special surprise for all of you. And so I'm going to try to bookmark the area where we have stopped with the live comments. But I'm going to bring this up to again. And so I was trying to figure out a way to make this live stream more entertaining and more um, interactive with all of you. And so I found a way to do that using polls. Now, I know that YouTube, the live stream itself, can do polls internally, but there's a number of problems with that. One of them is that you can't really watch them afterwards. And so you can do the poll now, but then you have to type it up while you're here in the chat or in the live stream, and then it'll actually go ahead and you can do that way. However, there's a way for you to actually take your phone, and once you go to this website and enter this code here, or you check this QR code out, I've actually populated some polls for you guys to do throughout this whole live stream. And what's cool about this is two things. First of all, the polls are anonymous. And so when you vote on your phone, basically no one knows what you selected. So that's really cool. The second thing is that when you vote, it'll populate in real time on the screen as well. So that's actually really cool. And this is my first time trying it. I did do some test tries with it, so I think it's going to work the way I want it to, but we're just going to have to figure out if this works or not. So with that being said, most of the questions in these polls I asked are going to be subjective. They're not going to be a right answer. It's going to be basically, what do you think of this situation that was presented by the person that asked this question on the community poll? That's kind of what's going to be like. However, as you know, or if you have logged in already, you may see the first question does actually have a correct answer to it. So I'm going to do this with you guys. So I'm going to enter my code here onto my phone, and I hope that this works. And so, good. So you can see here that you can have a first question. There are currently 115 of you in the live right now. And while we're kind of talking about that, don't forget the like button if you're getting value. And also make sure to hit the like button on this poll as well, because then I can see that you're actually there. But if you can see the first question, that question actually is going to be, what is the annual fee on the Amex Business Gold Card? Now, that's actually going to be there's a real correct answer to that one. But I'm going to put this on the bottom here, this ticker. So in case if you join in later on during the polling section, that you'll be able to join right away. And so I'm going to go ahead and click the next button here. Now, before I do that, you can only vote once. So once you click submit, that's it. So make sure you choose the question you want correctly. And again, it's going to be live polling, so you'll see it populate as we move forward. So here we go. We have this here to the stage. Let's go and vote here. I'm going to put in my vote as well. All right, so we have at least 7 votes so far. 9, 10. Looks like we're getting between $325 and $375 as the annual fee of the business gold card. I'm just going to let this run for about 30 seconds or so. Looks like there's 16 of you. You can also click the like button if you'd like. That lets us know that you're there. Again, if you want to participate in the live polling, just join at menti.com and use the code on the bottom of the screen there. That can help do live polling. So it looks like we got around 17 people that are voting, which is pretty good. And so we'll go ahead and just stop that for now. So that was really good. So yeah, so the correct answer for this is going to be actually $375. So that is the actual annual fee on the business gold card. As we all know, the $250 is going to be the regular gold card. $325 is going to be the one that is suspected to happen on the new refresh of the gold card, but it's not live yet, so we don't know. $375 clearly is the actual answer, and some guy wants to be a funny guy and put $695, which is the annual fee of the Amex Business Platinum card. So good. So about 20 of you guys voted. Very cool. Now that you are logged into this polling software, every time I change the question, it'll change on your phone too. So you no longer have to do the QR code. You no longer have to enter the code. Everything is all locked in and ready to go. So I'm going to do that a couple of times throughout the presentation. So let's go ahead and start with our first question here. So number 1, I applied and got approved for the American Express Gold Card. By the way, this is by user in early May with a sign-up bonus for 90,000 membership rewards points after spending $6,000 in 6 months. That's great because that's the all-time high offer. I think there's some higher ones now, but I'm sure back when you applied, that was certainly the highest offer. So bravo for getting that one. I see myself benefiting from it in the first year, but canceling it afterwards, kind of like a lot of people here. I know that the Amex Everyday credit card has no annual fee, would allow me to not lose any membership rewards points I accrue or earn with the gold card, and give me a $7 monthly Disney bundle credit for a subscription that I'm paying for anyways. And so we're going to talk about that in a second. Number 1, what would you recommend taking this approach? Would you recommend taking this approach? Number two, he also asks, would canceling the gold card and replacing it with a no annual fee card be very detrimental to my relationship with American Express? And number three, do you know if the Amex Everyday credit card would still have access to the transfer partners since it still earns Temperature Rewards points? And so, very quickly, let's go ahead first. Uh, there are two different types of cards you want to be aware of. It's the Amex Everyday card and the Amex Blue Cash Everyday card, and those are going to be different, right? And so the Blue Cash is actually a cash back card, and that's the card that actually comes with the $7 monthly Disney bundle credit. I did try to look at the Everyday card, but there wasn't that credit on there at all, so I don't think that's going to be something you can take advantage of if you decide to get the Amex Everyday card. And so if we look at the Amex Everyday card, the reason why you're getting this card is you want to get something what we call an anchor card. So an anchor card is where if you only have one Amex card and you cancel that card, all those MR points are subject to be forfeited. I think you can call Amex and within 90 days, get those points to be redeemed. But it's a way for you to really keep your MR points safe on a no annual fee card. And there are two cards I think that are worth talking about. I think they're actually the only two cards you can use for this purpose. And that's going to be the Amex Everyday card, which is the personal no annual fee card that gets 2x pack of groceries with a 6,000 per year cap, and then 1x everything else. You have the Amex Blue Business Plus card, which is a business card, also no annual fee, but gets you 2x back on everything with a 50,000 per year cap. And I think my way of thinking about this is that the Blue Business Plus is a much better card for this purpose. There are a number of reasons why that would be the case. And so, again, because you have MR points, and your goal was to transfer the Hilton, which by the way I didn't cover in that question, but you did put that down there. Your goal was to earn Hilton points with your MR points, and I know a lot of people say that that's not the best way to use MR points, which it's not. But if that's the goal of why you want to get them, then we have to go with that. Clearly, you want to transfer those points out probably in the November-December range when there's that 25% Hilton bonus, transfer bonus to get more points from those MR points. But if that's the goal, then, getting an everyday card to bank them, from my perspective, I don't really recommend that because, first of all, it burns a Chase 524 slot, which is important. And we're going to go over that in more detail with your fourth question, which is going to be on the next couple slides. And also, there's also that MX5 card rule. And so, if your only purpose of using that card is to bank your points, you're burning one slot just for that purpose. And I don't think that's necessarily worth it unless you're using that card for something else, some other reason. And so one of the things, like I mentioned to you before, was to make sure you get that 25% transfer bonus. I do see a comment here that says Sunmaster, or you can get the Amex checking and not worry about an anchor card. I think that's also a very good point. So thank you for pointing that up. I personally didn't even think about that. So I really appreciate that comment to make sure that we kind of use all of our available tools at our disposal. But if you want to use a card, I would not recommend using the Amex Everyday card for that purpose. And so when we talk about that first question, the answer is no. The second question is, would that affect my credit score or would that affect my relationship with American Express? And from my perspective, I would say that out of everyone on this live stream now probably has at some point closed an Amex card and opened a new one right away. And so I personally don't think that applying for a new Amex card and canceling a current card is going to be a problem in terms of your relationship with American Express. Now, I know that you only have one Amex card because you did list on the next question we talk about the number of cards that you have. But when you apply for a new Amex card and then so you only have one personal card and then you cancel that card, now you have zero. I don't know if that resets your relationship with American Express, if there's some kind of waiting period between that card and then your next card you apply for that, if that's an issue or not. But that would be something to think about because if you only have one Amex personal card and you cancel it, maybe you'd have to either get another personal card or another business card or some other card to continue on with that specific relationship you have with American Express. And so because of that, I would recommend having one if you'd like to, which is going to be, my opinion would be the American Express Blue Business Plus if you wanted to transfer those points out to transfer partners. Because to answer your third question, there's only one MR card needed for transfer partners. And unlike Chase, where it has to be a specific card, it can actually be any card that you want it to be, right? And so any card that's MR, obviously. So that could be Blue Business Plus or the Amex Everyday. That should be able to give you access to transfer partners, even if you don't have that. Okay. So let's see here. The next thing I want to go over is the follow-up question to that. That's your next question. And that was, I have a no annual fee credit card with my local credit union that I primarily use for Amazon. the Chase Sapphire Preferred, the Citi Triumph Premier, and the $95 Capital One Venture, in addition to the Amex Gold card. So that's how I know you had one gold card or one Amex card, excuse me. Currently sitting at 424, and my next two inquiries drops off my credit report in May 2025 and August 2025. We'll talk about that in a second. Is it worth applying for the Bilt MasterCard as a renter after getting the welcome bonus for the Amex Gold if I am also applying for the Amex Everyday credit card in April or May of 2025? Or would it be better to leave one credit card space open for a Chase card? Do you have any suggestions or recommendations for enhancing the setup? I'm not sure if I want to go further in the direction of team travel or take a step back and go towards team cashback. And my credit score is 770 to 800. So just to boil it down, he's asking if he should get the Amex Everyday card, or would he rather just get one card open for the Chase card because he wants to have an availability slot for that. And so the first thing I want to mention is that you talked about your inquiries dropping off a credit report in May of 2025 and August of 2025. And I want to just make a distinction, and I know you probably didn't mean this, but I'm going to go here first. You will automatically be denied for a Chase credit card for Chase 524 if you've been approved for the last 5 or more credit cards in the last 24 months. So what that's referring to is that those are cards that show up on your personal credit report, not your inquiries. So I think you meant that your cards drop off your credit report, but I just want to make sure that we make that distinction very clear. It's not the inquiries, it's the actual new accounts that count for Chase 524. Going back to the actual slide, you can see this is what you had told me about. So these are your cards. You have the Amex Gold card, Citi Star Premier, Capital One Venture card, your credit union card, and the Chase Sapphire Preferred. So I organize in a way that I think is probably the way you use them. Use the gold card for dining and groceries. Use the Citi Star Premier card for your airline, hotel, travel, and gas. And then the venture card is that 2x miles card. We get 2x back on all your purchases. So that's kind of your catch-all credit card. And so the question you have after that goes into, like, what if I add certain cards, like the Bilt card or the Amex Everyday card? Should I get those cards and do that or not? And so, I think that you could do that. One other situation I think that could be helpful to think about is, instead of getting a new Amex card, you could also downgrade the card that you have, which is the gold card, to the Amex green card after the first year. And the reason why I mentioned that is because if you look at your original portfolio, you have a gold card that has dining and groceries, and then you have a Citi card. But the Citi card is different because it doesn't really cover all travel. It covers only airlines and hotels. It doesn't cover at the 3X level. It doesn't cover other things like rental cars or cruises. There's some multiplier on the Star Premier about like the 10x if you use the Citi Travel portal, so that's fine. But I would go ahead and just think about to cover those other categories if those are categories that are important to you. The Chase Sapphire Preferred also gives you a transit category at 2x, but it's only 2x and it's not 3x, which is why you have the opportunity to keep that green card to have coverage of travel, all transit, and also have a card that may be helpful depending on how you use those statement credits. If you can use Clear, if you can use the Lounge Buddy credit, those are some options to think about in addition to getting another Amex Everyday card, which would burn a Chase 524 slot. There's also that Bilt card that you may want to get as a renter. I think that's a great card to get if you would like to get it. But in the sense that if you're going to burn a Bilt card for a Chase 524, that's going to be a distinction between what you want to do or not. And I certainly have recommendations about this, but I think what would be more helpful is if we had other people, for example, the 134 of you, or hopefully as many of you as possible, would like to vote on what user should do with his next move. So I'm going to change the slide here so you can see the next question. And again, this is a poll situation where the live polling will happen. I'm going to go ahead and put up that banner on the bottom here. And so if you go to menti.com on your phone or whatever web browser you have and enter the 8-digit code or scan the QR code, you can vote on your phone on the next slide to see what's going on here. And that's what this is going to look like. It's going to be your question. The question is two of them. There's two of them. How should user preserve his MR points? We did discuss that already. Should he get the Blue Business Plus? Should he just keep something else? Should he do some other, get the MS Everyday card? What's the question with that? So we're going to get the voting started here right around now. So let's see what you think. So the options are to get the Amex Everyday, to get the Amex Blue Business Plus or the product change the gold to the green card. What do you think you people want to do? I'm going to put in my vote here. I do have a vote as well, or I do have a opinion on this, but I do want to hear what people say first. We did talk about the checking account too, so that is another option. Although I did see something here a little bit back that I may can see. Where am I? I can't find it. There's too much chat. So we're just going to go ahead and look at this live polling. So it looks like I'll probably stop the polling around 20 people. That seems to be how many people are participating in this. So, but it's really cool. It looks like we've got a really big coverage of the Amex Blue Business Plus as the option, as the best option in your situation, which I think is great. I love the Blue Business Plus. I have a Blue Business Plus for this very exact reason. I do use the Blue Business Plus for my business expenses too, so it does serve a dual purpose. But the other purpose is if I decide to cancel my Amex Platinum card at any time, I'll have a card to preserve those MR points. Okay. So I think we're going to stop there. Looks around 18 people, 19 people voted. Perfect. Okay. So let me just kind of get everything back off of here and I'll move this over here. So here are my recommendations for you. So personally, there's two things. You could either recommend down with the Amex Green, depending on what you would like to do with your coverage of that travel and transit category, or get a Blue Business Plus. You know, I recommend staying under Chase 524 too, and also want to focus on building your core setup because you have a lot of cards. If we go back to your setup here, you have cards from Amex. You have one of Amex, one Citi, one Capital One, one Chase Sapphire Preferred. Now that's good and bad. It's good that you now have a foothold in every issuer, but it's bad that now you're spending on different cards for different reasons. And so to build up the amount of points you want to get to that next great redemption is going to be that much harder because you're diversifying your points across 3 different ecosystems. So I think consolidating is going to be helpful. You do have the Citi Strata Premier card. And so that is important because you can use the Citi Custom Cash in addition to that Citi Strata Premier and get that 5X category under control. You can choose whatever you want, restaurants, travel, transit, whatever you want, and then spend up to $500 in that category and get that 5X points back, which is super awesome. I also forgot that there was another question on there, so I will go back to this. I apologize for that. The next question for his situation was, should he get a Bilt MasterCard or should he chase 524? That was actually one of his questions too, is if you had the situation where you were 424 and you were a renter, would you get a Bilt MasterCard in his situation or would you not? And so let's go ahead and start the polling for that too. Oh, I forgot to put my little banner on the bottom. Give me 1 second to do that. Little banner on the bottom. Make sure to join that menti.com and use the code. And here we go. Let's start with the voting here. Should you get a Bilt MasterCard or stay under Chase 524? What do you think? I'm going to submit my vote. It's not really a right answer here. It really depends on what you're looking for, right? And so you can see by the polling already that it's pretty even. There's not one choice that's really much better than the other based on the people that are here. And for those of you who are voting, thank you so much for doing so. I know that it's harder to join if you don't know how to do it, but I try to make it as easy as possible. I think it's fun to see what people say too. And the more people that participate in this, the more fun this is going to be for everybody involved. And the more data we can collect about what we can do to help you in your situation, Mr. User. And so it looks like for the votes that are here, it's about half and half. Some say Sustainer Chase 24 because you can get on the ink train, so to speak. Some people say you want to get the Bilt MasterCard because that is a very powerful card. You get really great points in your rent. If you spend $2,000 or more on rent, 2,000 points a month is not small. It is something that is larger. And so that's definitely something to consider when we think about either staying under Chase 524 or getting Bilt MasterCard. So user, it's up to you. It just really depends on your own situation, but that would be the next thing that we would look for here when we go for that. And it looks like it's 11-11, which is about as even as you could possibly get. And so anyways, good stuff. Thank you so much for voting. And so I also want to point out that we all like the ink train. I did want to know what an ink train looked like because I obviously it's a big thing now and we want to know like what that looks like. And so for me, I went on a Dolly 3 and I just typed an ink train and this is kind of the things that they popped out. So if you ever think about the ink train, that's what it looks like. Chase ink cards tend to be gray. And so I think it's interesting. It's more rainbowy, but that would be what would be going on with him. And so that would be his question. And so I'm going to go back here to the chat. I appreciate you guys participating in the polling. And there is a lot of comments I need to get through here. And so, first of all, I want to say thank you to Robert J for the super sticker. I'm so sorry that I missed that, but thank you for giving out the question and appreciate you and your support. Okay, and so we have my buddy Anthony Ventures in the house. Wow, this is very cool. Yes, I try to make it more engaging. I want to get as many people using this as possible, and we'll see kind of how this goes because I know I'm super behind on the presentation, but I think it's a lot better for not only for me to say what I recommend, but for what you guys recommend too. There's a lot of crowdsourcing involved, and I think that knowing the intelligence of the community and everyone here in this live stream, it's important for us to really help each other out. I think this is another great way for us to do that. I'm going to keep going down here. So Ian asks, love the channel. Send any thoughts on the Wyndham credit cards, Wyndham in general. The points values look solid. 1.2 cents per point. So thinking about exploring it. Cheers. I personally don't have a lot of experience with Wyndham other than that Wyndham business earner card seems to be a very popular one. Not only for the points earning on gas, but also because of its status matching to like Cedars Diamond, things like that. And so I would look into it if you think you stay, if you think you stay at Wyndham properties. And so if you do that, then definitely worth it. But if you don't stay at Wyndham properties, it doesn't really matter what the card gives you. You have to, make sure you stay at the properties that you have the card with. But of course, there's that other thing like if you stay at like, go to casinos and stay at Cedars Palace and things like that, that may be something to think about too. Okay. Kennard asks, what odds do you give Chase offering platinum status on a Marriott Bonvoy card in the near future? I think that if they do revamp the Ritz-Carlton card and slap on a higher annual fee, I think the Ritz card will probably give platinum status. I think that would just make sense. It is their only luxury Chase Marriott card. And so if they were to do that, that's what I would say would happen. So we have to see if they even decide to do that or not. Okay, so let me keep going down here. See if there's any more questions. I think, and I love seeing all this chat between you guys just answering questions. I can't cover everyone's comments, so everyone answering each other's comment is pretty amazing. So thanks so much for that. Okay. Right. Wong Wei's in the house. Wong Wei, good to see you, man. I believe your name's Mike, so I'll call you Mike instead, but I love saying Wong Wei. Happy Saturday to all. Really enjoy the interactive slides. Oh, of course, man. Yeah, I mean, I love the slides too. There's going to be a lot more of that coming up in the future. And of course, definitely check out Wong Wei's channel. He's got some really great live actions, shots of him flying in first class and business class and all of his travels. And so always good to see what those points can do and how they can earn you some really great experiences and really great memories. And then we have, of course, Mr. Tony Staten Island Oprah in the house. Absolutely. John McKinstry says Chase should add some artwork to their ink cards with colorful inks. I think that'd be really fun. Just like the inks that we saw on that Dali slide. That's hilarious. Okay, perfect. So I think we're at the end of the chat here for now. And so we're going to go back to our slideshow because we have plenty more questions to consider. We have my boy, Spencer Johnson, who I adore. He's just a great credit card content creator, and he has a lot of great content out there, especially for those of you that are just coming out of college or kind of just becoming a young adult in your first job or so. He's got a lot of great content for those of you in that stage of the game, and he's living it right now as well. And so definitely, if you haven't checked him out, definitely check him out. And he's also a platinum member on my channel, having been a member for over a year. So I appreciate you so much. So for its context, for someone in the points and miles game, specifically, not cashback, points and miles, how strongly would you recommend they consider the U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve? And so if you have been watching my channel, you know that I am a huge fan of the U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve. We did cover it later before in the live stream, but it is, in my opinion, the best card for everyday value in a single card if you're okay with cashback. If you use the card in the right way with Apple Pay or Samsung Pay or Google Pay, and then redeem it with RTR with your travel redemptions, you will get 4.5x on everything else. It does have a $400 annual fee, but the travel credit is literally the best one, I think, in the entire game, where it's an annual credit of $325 that counts for both travel and dining. And when you get the credit, you get the 3x points too I guess on travel, but not on dining. But you get the points in addition to the credit back. So it gets a stable credit back onto your card. So you get the points back from the actual statement credit. Like I mentioned, 3x mobile wallet, 1.5x RTR. The question always comes into, should I get this card or some 2% cashback card? And that's a good question to ask. So the difference, if you think about it that way, is going to be 2.5%. So 2% versus 4.5%. So the math is basically this. If you want to determine if it's worth it for you, if you spend $3,000 a year on this card versus a 2% card, that will break even. Anything else is going to be cream on top. And so you want to just evaluate that for yourself. 3,000 a year isn't that terrible. I believe that's around 200, maybe like $300. Yeah, like between $200 and $300 a month on this card. That's very doable. And so if you can do that, then this card is worth it for you. I am a big fan of this card. The question is, though, if you're a points and miles person, how would I recommend this card? Well, if you want, again, a simple card that gives you good cash back that you can maybe use for travel, like Uncle Luke has been talking about in the past, and actually in the past, recently, he's talking about using cash back for travel instead of points. This may be worth it to you. And so I would say at any point, if you feel overwhelmed, if you feel like you have a lot of statement credits, you have a lot of benefits to deal with, you just don't want to deal with it anymore, and you just want to have a simple card and you use mobile wallets, this is a card for you. So that's my answer to that question. We have a lot of questions or statements here. Juan Garcia saying US bar is fire. Absolutely. Harrison Warner says fire. Hopefully that means to the US bar. But yes, I do love this card for sure. Another question here from my boy Matt Welcher, who also has a great YouTube channel on credit cards. Definitely check out his channel as well. Also, thank you so much, Matt, for being a channel member for over a year. His question is, what are your honest thoughts on airline cards for people in different stages? So fly all the time, fly sometimes, and fly only 1 to 2 times per year. So basically, it's going to vary from person to person. Like we always say, your mileage may vary. Things are different. But I did make a video about why I don't think airline credit cards are worth it. There are exceptions to every rule, including what I said in this video. But essentially what I boiled down to is that if you fly enough on airlines, you'll get status, and those statuses will give you the perks on the airline anyways. And so the credit cards, will they give you status? Yes. Will they give you perks? Yes. But you can probably get those if you fly enough anyways on those credit cards from the air status you get. Plus, you can use things like the AMX Platinum for 5x points back on flights or other cards that are better for flights with better travel protections that could be more helpful to you. Now, like I said before, everything is going to be with exception. So let's start with airline cards that are domestic. And so domestic airline cards is kind of what I'm going to talk about, which is like United's, American Airlines, Delta, Southwest, things like that. So if you fly 1 or 2 times per year, I really don't recommend an airline credit card because you just don't fly enough to really do anything with it. You have a much better return using a different type of credit card, like the US Bank Ultra Reserve, or like some 2% card, or like some flexible point earning card. That would be a lot better value for you, in my opinion. The exception is if you have a big family trip. So a lot of these credit cards, and I believe it's the American Airlines, Delta Gold, American Airlines, Aviator Red, and the Platinum Select, the Delta Gold, and the US Explorer, the United Explorer cards, they all have this thing where you get your first free check bag, which is great. But what's also great is that you get your first check bag for like 9 of your companions or some really high number like that. And so if you have you're bringing your parents, your wife or your spouse, your kids, you bring, Uncle, Jimmy, Aunt Connie, if you knock her socks off, any of those things, you can bring them all together and then you can use those benefits and really get a lot of value for the annual fees that are on those specific cards. And so that's what the exception I would say for that, if you want to get that check bag benefit, because those can really add up a lot. If there's like 9 people at $30 a pop, that's like $300 like right off the bat for like a one-way ticket. So you can really get a lot of value from that. If you fly sometimes, which is what Matt said, but I'm going to say it's like 3 to 12 times per year, like once a month to once a quarter issue. I think the mid-tier airline cards are something that are worth getting because you're going to fly enough that you'll be able to get the benefits on the credit card, but probably not enough to get status on an airline, right? And so in that situation, it may be more worthwhile to have that type of card. And so, lastly, if you fly all the time, like 12 plus times per year, now you're to the point where you're kind of living more in the airport. And so, you want to have a nice airport experience. When you think of the big three, which is Delta, American, and United, those lounges are what's going to really help elevate that experience. And so, that's when you go into airline lounge cards, specifically for United and American Airlines, where you can't really get access to them unless you buy an actual lounge plan. You can actually use these lounge credit cards to get you a good welcome offer. They have some good, multipliers, some good benefits, including unlimited access to those lounges. Delta's being Delta, and they won't give you unlimited anymore at some point, but you have options because you have the platinum card, things like that. So one of those mid-tier cards I talked about, like I said before, United Explorer card, which by the way has a new aesthetic. So definitely thumbs up for that. I do like the new aesthetic. The second would be the Aviator Red card from Barclays, or the AA Platinum Select from Citi, as well as the Delta Gold card. So we talked about those in a little bit. And the next the mid-tier cards that are for the other airlines that also have a check bag benefit are Alaska Air Visa from Bank of America, the JetBlue Plus card from Barclays, and the Southwest Priority from Chase. I put the Chase Southwest Priority here because even though it's got the highest annual fee at a mid-tier for 149, which is not true, by the way. Delta has a 150, but it's still got a pretty high annual fee for a mid-tier card. Is that if you look at the other options for Southwest, like they're just not good. The only reasons why I would get like a Plus or Premier card is if you have if the welcome offers are exactly the same and you're going for Companion Pass. Then I would just go with like the Plus card, because like you're not really using the card for the benefits. It's just to get the welcome offer, to get the Companion Pass, and that's fine. But if you're using the card for its intended purpose, like actual for benefits for Southwest, I think the Southwest Priority card would be the best way to go. So those are the mid-tier cards, again, varying from $95 to $99 to $150, depending on the airline. There's also lounge cards, like you mentioned before. So lounge cards include things like the United Club Infinite card, which I believe is $525 annual fee, the AA Executive card, which is a $595 annual fee, and you have the Delta Reserve card, which is $650 annual fee, because it's American Express and they clearly do that all the time. So those are the cards that I would see for lounge cards, knowing that there are other types of ways to get into lounges, like as we know, the Capital Venture X, or like the AMX Platinum, or the Chase Sapphire Reserve, Priority Pass, all those things. But specifically for U.S. domestic airlines, these are the lounge cards that we typically think about. And so if we look at international cards, I mean, there's a lot of coverage in those, but the one that I think that is kind of under the radar that is pretty cool to see is the Chase Aeroplan card. It is the only Chase card that gives you 3x points back on grocery stores. It's not Chase UR points, but they are Chase. They are Chase cards for groceries. So if you think you're going to be using UR points for Aeroplan at some point, this may be a good alternative to explore at a $99 annual fee. It also gets you good multipliers with 3x points back on restaurants, including takeout and delivery services, as well as 3x on Air Canada. So if you want a 3x grocery and dining card on Chase, and you use Aeroplan as a transfer partner regularly, this is a option to consider. There's no, I'm sure they have, I think they have a check bag benefit as well as a priority boarding for Air Canada, but this is more of for US based people that I'm talking to. And so for me, this would be an option to think about too. So there's that. And so we have our next question from Mr. Deli Belly. Hi, Stan. I've had the Barclays American Airlines Aviator card since December 2021, which we just talked about in the last question. I have no use for the card anymore, and it comes with a $95 annual fee. I called earlier this year to get a retention offer, and they had none. So I paid the annual fee, and it's just sitting at home. Deli Belly. We're going to have a little talk in a little bit. It has a 4K credit line, the lowest of all 10 of my cards. And my question is, what kind of impact to my credit score do you think is possible if I cancel this card that's about 3 years old? My oldest credit card account is 12. Thank you. Okay. So let's first talk about what's the next slide here? So let's first talk about the issue about the annual fee card. So with any annual fee card, if you get to a point where they charge you a new annual fee and you're not going to be using the card, I would just cancel the card. There are exceptions to this, and maybe I don't know the whole story, so maybe there was some exception for you. But in general, if you're just going to stock draw a card with an annual fee and it's not doing anything positive for you, then I would just get rid of it, because having that is how the banks make money off of you. And you want to do the opposite. You want to make money off the banks. And it's hard to do that already. So doing this already, keeping an annual fee card open for no reason is not going to be helpful. But again, it's going to depend on the situation because I don't know where you are in your credit card journey. So you mentioned in the question, if you cancel the card, is it going to affect your credit score? And it's going to depend on the situation because if you told me that you had two cards and this card had was one of them and it had like a 4K credit limit, but the other card had like a 5K credit limit and you close the card, yes, it's going to affect your credit score because of the utilization drop on or utilization total credit card utilization on the card is going to drop. So your utilization is going to go up. So as we all know, credit scores have a 35% credit utilization. And so if you have a less total available credit limit and you spend the same amount of money, that utilization is going to go up, your credit score is going to go down. However, if you told me that you have 10 cards and you have a bunch of credit limits, and this is the lowest credit limit at 4,000, if you close it, will it make a difference? Yes. Will it make a major difference? No. Because when you close a credit card, two things will happen. First, the utilization will be affected because you have less credit limit, but also you'll decrease the average age of accounts because you have one less account. But that doesn't happen automatically. It actually happens within 7 to 10 years, depending on the issuer. So if you cancel the card, it will eventually drop off your credit report, but in 7 to 10 years. So in the meantime, as long as you had good relationship or a good history on that card, it'll continue to age on your report for that long. And you know this because if you log onto your Credit Karma, you log on to your Experian, and you look back at all your credit cards, you'll notice that 7 to 10 years from today, none of the cards show up. And there's a reason for that. It's because they dropped off your credit report. But because you closed it, you'll see that it's closed, but it's still going to remain on that credit report. So that factor will not be affected. But what will be affected will be the credit utilization. So you have to kind of look at that from that perspective. And so that's why I say here that generally closing your cards with low credit limits will not affect your credit score. But again, it will also depend, on the situation because of that utilization. And so that would be my question to that. I just want to make sure that we have things. So we have here, Wong Wei says that sucks. Delhi could have downgraded the $0 Barclays annual fee card if you want to save your credit. Good. That's a really good point. Wong Wei, thanks for pointing that out. I didn't know that there was a downgrade path for this card specifically. I know that if you downgrade the card, you can't actually do that after you pay the annual fee. The question is, I'm not familiar if Barclay card will give you a prorated refund of that annual fee. I know Chase does that. I know American Express does that, but I've never actually done this with a Barclay card. So I'd have to take a look and figure out what's going on there. And then Dave Beeson says, in Delhi Belly question, where can you store your miles if you have any when you close your... So because it's American Airlines, it's already on the American Airlines account. It's not in Barclay. So you can it's fine. You can just close the account. It's totally fine. And so I wouldn't worry about that at all. Juan Garcia points out, I had the AA Aviator card, and when I tried to downgrade to no annual fee card, Barclays would not offer this path, so I canceled it. Okay, fair enough. That's interesting. And then Wong Wei pops up again saying, how long was that? Just so, everything changes so fast, which is why it's so cool you guys are all here, because that way, we can all crowdsource information that changes like all the time. And so we can get very accurate information of what to do. Wong Wei says there's a 60-day return policy on the annual fee for Barclays. I know that there's so now that you point it up, so there's 30 days for American Express, 30 for Chase. Apparently there's 60 days for Barclays, and there's 60 days also for Bank of America. I know that because I was thinking of downgrading my Premium Elite credit card, but I decided not to do it, but I had 60 days to figure that out. So that was kind of nice to know that I had that amount of time to get that full refund of that annual fee. John R. also pops in, says points should stay attached to that person's AA accounts. Forgot what it's called. That's perfect. Okay. Very, very good. So I think we have answered that question well. So AA Aviator Red, if the card has no use, from my opinion, cancel it. This is a hot take because although a lot of people, they have a lot of cards, and I don't want to everyone has a different way of thinking about this, but my hot take is that every card you have in your portfolio should have a purpose of some kind, right? And so when someone comes up to me and they say, I have 70 credit cards, I'm not impressed yet, because it depends on how are you using those 70 credit cards. Do you get value from every single one of those cards? Like maybe you do. For example, if you have 65 no annual fee cards and 5 annual fee cards, I think that's great, because that means you're just aging your credit report, really well. You get a new credit card, it's gonna like drop your average by accounts by like 2 days, right? And so like it's not gonna be a big deal. But if you tell me, well, 35 of those credit cards are annual fee, and 25 35 and 35 are not annual fee, then that's a different story because now you're like, well, how are you getting value on 35 different annual fee credit cards? It can be very difficult to do that in my experience. Everyone's different. They have different ways of managing it. But for me personally, managing that many credit cards annual fee wise with all the same credits, not possible, not for me. Which is why simplicity is very important to me and why I think it's important for all of us to evaluate what our portfolios look like, how many cards we have, do we need to keep the card? If we don't, get rid of it. Again, just to reiterate the point, card will stay on your credit report for 7 to 10 days after closing, or 7 to 10 years after closing, excuse me. Okay, so WH says the Aviator Red is such a sweet way to get 60,000 AA miles. I'm not sure why more don't get it. Well, I think it's because you don't fly American Airlines. It doesn't matter, right? So that's why I don't get the card, is because I don't fly American Airlines a lot. I do sometimes, but I think right now it is 70,000. I think there's I don't know. There's a offer that's really good, but you're right. To have a card where you spend it on one time and get all those points at once, solid, absolutely solid. Okay. So let's see what we got here. Charming One says it pisses me off that Amex charges me pro rata annual fee when I cancel cards, unlike other companies. Oh, I see. It can charge you a pro rata annual fee when you cancel the card. So it shouldn't charge you an annual fee. It should actually refund you annual fee. It'll charge you the whole annual fee first, and then when you cancel the card later on, a couple months down the line, they'll prorate refund you. So they will charge you some annual fee from that perspective. But if you kind of are able to cancel with the first 30 days, there's going to be none of that going on. So that's why it's important to try to figure this out when that annual fee hits on your Amex card to make sure if you want to, keep it or not. Okay. Thomas E brings up a good point. 10 escape lounges added to Priority Pass from Dr. Credit. Yes, so I saw that yesterday too, which I thought was kind of it's more selfish, but it's kind of a bummer because I fly through Sacramento Airport a lot, and Sacramento is one of those airport Priority Pass airport lounges that was included on this update, and that lounge is super tiny. And so to give more access to that lounge, I think is bad because when I go there on peak times, it's super full and it's like not that comfortable. But if I go during like non-peak times, like a Tuesday or a Wednesday, like it's fine, which is fine. But it depends on the lounge size. I think getting more access is good, but only if the lounge can really handle the amount of people that are coming into it. I think that's kind of my stance on that. Yes. So do you get a free, Harrison Moore asked, do you get a free check bag on international trips with American Airlines? The answer is, I'm not sure. I have to look on that. But I think that there is a way to do that if you have status or if you have a credit card with them. So there's that. We have another question from Mr. Max Khan. Max Khan asked, I recently got the Amex Gold and then the Amex Platinum 2 months apart, most of the welcome offers, which is fine. I can see myself keeping one and canceling the other. What's the right time to cancel to not have Amex revoke welcome offer? And that's great because we just talked about this. I've heard you have to wait at least a year, but does that mean I'll have to pay an annual fee twice, or can I cancel after a year and before the annual fee posts? Don't cancel for the annual fee post, just quickly right there. I didn't have credit fatigue with the gold, but I've already started to feel it with the platinum. At least the sub is amazing, and I can handle it for 1 year. And love the stuff, Stan. Looking forward to the stream. So perfect. So let's go over that. So you will, when you get an Amex card with annual fee, you will get a annual fee charge for the first year, the next statement cycle, typically. So make 1 or 2 weeks, you'll get that, and you'll pay it. That's kind of what it is. The next time you get it will be the 13th month. And so when you cancel the Amex card for that first year, you have to wait 12 months, but you have to wait until that second annual fee post on the card. How do you know it's posted on your card? Well, what tends to happen is if your statement end date or your statement date closes, for example, on the 9th, you'll get that statement on the 10th. And on the 10th, you'll see a charge on the 9th for your annual fee. Hopefully that makes sense. So you won't see the annual fee charge until your statement posts, but on the day before that new statement posts. So that's the 13th month. At that point, you have 30 days to either pay off the annual fee or call to cancel, product change, downgrade, whatever you want to do. So that's what's important to know about canceling the card. So you never want to cancel the Amex card before the annual fee post, because that technically is not, it's before that 12-month period that they count. And you don't want to be in that situation where they may, question your account, cancel your cards, cancel, blacklist you, take away your points, all that stuff, bad stuff. Just wait till that extra second annual fee posts, and then you can go ahead and cancel a product change of card. So again, if you decide not to do this within 30 days, you will get a prorated refund based on the number of days that you have had the card since then. But ideally, you would make that decision within that 30-day period, because that way you'll be able to get that full refund. And so that would be the process of canceling Amex cards. Okay, so we're back for a break. So I think we're pretty much caught up on comments here. Let's take a look here. Thomas Yee says, yes, Sacramento is my home airport, and I have been there with my Amex Plat before. I canceled that. It's a tiny lounge. It's absolutely tiny. And so having priority pass there is just unfortunately a kind of a bummer. But hopefully they'll figure out a way to expand it or make it a bigger lounge. Okay. Max Khan, who is here. Good to see you. Hope you answered your question, by the way. Shoot, I just got the platinum because my home airport PVD has an escape. Guess it will be canceled next year. Good timing for the question. Yeah, well, it depends if PVD, and I don't really know what PVD is. I'll be able to look up real fast here. So it's Rhode Island, TF Green. So yeah, so it depends on how big your escape lounge is. If it's a big lounge, then I think it's gonna be fine. But if you feel like it's been crowded a lot, then it may just be more crowded than you think it would be. Let's see. CZRS asks, can you remind me if I can apply for the Venture 195 while having the Venture X? I am not sure about that. I do not believe there is a problem with that, but I don't have any Capital One cards, so I'm not the best person to ask. But I don't believe, in what I've been studying them, that there is any reason why you would not be able to have a Venture X and a Venture One card. But definitely look at the terms and conditions, see what they say. WH asks, sorry if I missed this, but with all the Wells Fargo / Bilt controversies supposedly going on behind the scenes, do you think this kills the use Bilt for mortgage momentum? So we did have a question about that by Keith later on this live stream here. But yes, I don't think it really does. I think it's just, just saying that, there is some cost to Wells Fargo having the Bilt card on their roster. I think that we should all continue to proceed on as planned. Again, 2029 is a contract end date, so we have a lot of years to keep getting Bilt points. And so as long as we continue to have good transfer partners and they continue to keep them, keep that rent thing going on, that would be great. I hope that they do eventually get you mortgages, and there are ways to do that people have talked about in the past. But hopefully it's more of a universal thing in the future. Just saying that Wells Fargo was hopefully to be able to get more, interest from the credit card and also more cross-selling with their bank products. But I guess it hasn't happened as much as they had liked to, which is totally reasonable, because clearly the Bilt card is like for those specialists like all of us who want to maximize points and miles. No regular person is going out and being like, I want to get a Bilt card. Like people like us want to get Bilt cards because we want to maximize as many points as we can. And so it's something that, they can market, but it's not something that a lot of people in the general public really think about or want to really want to get a Bilt card. This is probably why they're having the situation now where their audience is pretty much all of us degenerates who are points maximizers. Okay. So let's keep on going down here. So I don't know the answer to this question, Robert J, if the best time to downgrade a city card, but I would have someone else, if they can answer in the chat, that would be great. I've never had a city card, so I don't know what the best time to downgrade is. It would probably be after the annual fee post. I would imagine it's between 30 and 60 days, but the actual details are not something I really know for sure. Cody Little, thanks so much. Yes, you can have both venture cards. That's excellent. Thank you so much for that. So we have confirmation that you can have both. Alex Osmond says, Stan, what's the best strategy for sequencing the B of A premium cards, premium and elite, apply for their premium first, then the elite, then redeem both sub with the elite boost before downgrading? Yes, I think that would be the best way to do it. We did find out that the premium rewards points can be transferred to the premium rewards elite card, which has that special 20% airline boost when you use those points. And so if you want to just chain them together, you can certainly do that. You can get the premium rewards first, get the welcome offer, premium rewards elite second, get the welcome offer, transfer points from one card to the other, and then redeem all those points together using that airline bonus. Gets you about a 1.25 cent per point redemption, which is, it's typical. It's nothing crazy, but it definitely can give you a lot of points if you want to book an airline through the Bank of America travel portal. So that's how I would do that as well. Okay. Robert J also confirms that yes, you can have as many venture cards, including more of one than each. Perfect. Okay. So I think that is good. So we'll kind of continue here with our slides. So we have another question here from Mac P. Mac P asked, let's assume you live in a no welcome offer world. Given that, which ecosystem would have the most transfer points redemption upside in a year when trying to maximize primary big spend multipliers, as well as secondary multipliers, combined with a strong catch-all option? Of course, definition of primary and secondary would vary from person to person, but I think generally above do align for most people. Maybe this is more of a video idea, but essentially he's asking, which ecosystem would you prefer if you did not have a welcome offer to go into it? Which, comes back to, if you don't get credit cards for the welcome offer, what do you get them for? And the answer for that is actually multipliers. So how you spend on the card, because that's how you're going to earn. So there's multiple setup options, right? We have the Amex trifecta with a $9.45 annual fee. You have the Chase trifecta with the annual fee of $95 or $550, depending on if you do the Chase Sapphire Reserve or Preferred. The Citi trifecta, which is $95 annual fee. The Wells Fargo trifecta with the Attune card, which is no annual fee. And the Capital One Duo at $395 annual fee. So there's a lot of variance between what you can do. But the question is really asking, if you could choose one system for maximizing points without welcome offers, which one would you choose? And that is an excellent question to ask all of you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put this up on the screen. It's going to be a poll session. Again, I want to make sure that you guys can do this. Again, this is a poll that is live. That will you'll see the bars go up live as we vote. We're going to go first to menti.com. And in menti.com is going to be the way to enter the 8-digit code that you can get onto this poll and use your phone actually as a voting device. Or you can scan the QR code and that would work too. So I'm going to go ahead and transfer over to the screen here. And thank you so much for those of you hitting the like button. Let me know that you're here. And also, while I'm on that topic, if you can, don't forget to the like button if you're getting value, because I really appreciate you guys all being here. There's 130 of you in the live stream now, and I really appreciate that. And hit the like button on the YouTube video as well, because it really does mean a lot to me for you guys for being here. I also want to mention that there's been a super chat by Max Khan. Thanks for answering my question. I appreciate it. Of course, man. I hope that answered your question, and you had a lot of good information and insight from that too. So here we go. We're going to go for that question now. Hopefully you guys are all joined in, ready to go, and let's go. What is the best credit card ecosystem? We had the 5 ones. Would you choose for multipliers only? Nothing, no welcome offers, just multipliers only. Which one would you choose? I'm going to put in my vote as well. That's a good question, actually. I don't know if I wanted to choose. I choose that one. All right, so we got a little more types of systems. So we're going to have a little more of a distribution. I see no one really likes Wells Fargo, so that's interesting. But I see we have a lot of people who love Chase for this reason. Amex, Citi, and Capital One seem to be tied all across the board here. Again, if you want to vote, go to menti.com and use the code that's 8 digits long to join in, and you can actually vote on your phone and see the responses happen in real time, which is super cool. So we got some Capital One people coming into play. So now it's between Chase and Capital One. Cities there, still known for Wells Fargo. Man, Wells Fargo gets no love. Everyone hates Wells Fargo. They have a good. I think they have a good trifecta. I mean, it's no annual fee, and you get a lot of value out of it because you pay $0 for it. But I can kind of see the how people don't like them. But it looks like we have Chase and Citi on top here. Any Capital One people want to try it? Oh, we have a Wells Fargo finally. That's hilarious. Okay, someone likes Wells Fargo. I hope that was I wonder if that was Matt Clausen. He loves Wells Fargo. But one of these times we'll have to see what the thing is going to be. But it looks like Chase and Citi and Capital One are the ones that people do prefer if you only think about getting one trifecta and only getting the multipliers for the cards themselves. And so I think this is kind of where we're going to end. So we have Chase winning. We actually have Chase winning. Second place is going to be Citi and Capital. Actually, I'm going to keep it going for more longer because people seem to be chiming in here. This is great. We have about 25 people voting. So it looks like we are looking really good here with that. A lot of people like Chase, Citi, and I think pretty much when you look at it, Chase and Citi are the top two, followed by Capital One and Amex, and then followed by Wells Fargo at the very end. So And that's what that shows. So let's go back and kind of see what I recommend. And so actually, I would recommend Wells Fargo, which is hilarious because no one picked that. Also, I didn't vote for it on that poll either. So that's also kind of awkward because I kind of don't remember what I put, but I made this slide like 2 days ago. But I did pick the Wells Fargo trifecta, which is hilarious. I think it's missing groceries, so that is kind of a problem. But they have limited transfer partners, so that may be something else too. If you look at the categories with the three of these cards, the Attune card actually has a lot of choices. Now, they may not be choices that you actually buy from, but if you look at all the trifectas, Wells Fargo has the most coverage of everything at either 3x or 4x level, which is kind of insane for just zero annual fee, right? So you have to do the math for yourself. But from multipliers standpoint, Wells Fargo would be my personal choice. But I did say the Citi trifecta and the Chase trifecta are both also reasonable options, and those were the top two that I think all you guys actually chose. In my vote, I voted for Citi because I do like Citi as a second choice. The only problem with that is that Citi does miss select travel and transit. As we all know, the Citi Starter Premier card does only have air travel and hotels. But when you have more than that, like you have car rentals, cruises, any transit, none of that's covered at the 3x level. And so for that reason, I think that is kind of a downside to the trifecta. Although you could use the Citi custom cash to cover that if you're missing one of those categories and you're spending a lot there. So we have that option too. The Chase trifecta, obviously, we all know about them. They miss groceries and gas and EV charging. They just have the Chase Freedom Flex. So it happens 3 months out of the year, which is fine, but not great for a good setup. And so that would be kind of the way I would look at that setup, in the sense that they have really good transfer partners. So it does kind of make up for it. But it depends on kind of what you're looking for. With multipliers, I would definitely say my top choice is Wells Fargo, followed by Citi and then Chase. I see that we have some comments here about Cody Little says it's Wells or Citi for sure. Yeah, I mean, that's actually, it's funny you say that, Cody, because those are my top two choices too. So great minds think alike. So excellent, outstanding. One is laughing at QC Man because, well, he said that there's no Wells Fargo. Again, Matt Clausen. You don't know where he is, but hopefully he's able to look at this video on demand at some point and realize that he had his shot. He had his moment to vote for Wells Fargo. He wasn't there for it. And then we have Albert Lee, who says the missing groceries is going to be a deal breaker for some of us. And I agree with that, because groceries is a lot of people's almost biggest spend category, maybe outside of rent. You know, it's like food is always a big one, but groceries is a big one for a lot of people. And so having that not there is kind of a problem. And then John McKinstry comes in saying, with the addition of the Attune card, it's definitely made the Wells Fargo trifecta competitive with Chase and Citi. Not from this poll, apparently, but from what I would think. I agree with you, John. I think that it does show a lot of opportunity. And again, like I mentioned before, early in the live stream, Wells Fargo is innovating, which I think is awesome. So hopefully we'll see more innovation from other issuers like Chase and American Express as well. And then Robert J asked, does travel protection really matter for anything but airlines? I think the airlines is the biggest one, but there's things like primary rental car collision damage waiver. I don't know if there's a hotel thing. I think that's more within the hotel itself, but yeah, I think it's mostly towards airlines. Okay. And good. So we'll kind of keep going on to the next question here, which is from Mr. Juan Garcia, who I know is here in the house. He, thank you, by the way, sir, for being a channel member. I really appreciate that. What are your thoughts on the new Citi Strata Premier? This is kind of threw me for the loop there. Versus the Chase Sapphire Preferred as an everyday spending card. Strengths and weaknesses. Okay, so there's been a lot of videos on this already, but I will cover this a little bit. So you have the Citi Strata Premier and the Chase Sapphire Preferred. They both have the same annual fee, but their multipliers are slightly different. From an everyday spending standpoint, you can see that there's actually better coverage on a lot of the everyday categories on the Citi Strata Premier as compared to the Chase Sapphire Preferred. What am I talking about? Well, you've got restaurants, supermarkets, and gas. Those are the three I would consider everyday categories. Travel and transit, yes, if you live in a big city, maybe that would be a thing, like parking, subways, tolls. But for the most part, I would say most people's everyday spending is restaurants, groceries, and gas. You do have options to get more points when you have when you use the travel portals from each individual issuer. But it is limited on the City Star Premier as opposed to the Chase Sapphire Preferred, where it's more universal. So you get 5x on all the Chase travel versus only 10x on hotel rental cars from City Star Premier, as well as 3x on the air travel and hotel. So it's very broken down. And also, the City Star Premier does not cover transit, whereas this Chase Sapphire Preferred does at the 2x level, which is better than 1x. But again, if it were up to me, I personally would pick, you know, the City Star Premier. But if you look at the trifectas in general, that's when things kind of change a little bit, because then you can look at each individual card and see how it fits into your everyday category. And that is kind of what I was talking about in the last question, is that these two are very good trifectas to use if you want to use just one issuer. Oftentimes we just use one issuer, and then, like, for example, the Chase trifecta, and then we use the Capital and Saver one to cover those grocery categories, for example, or the City Custom Cash to, like, cover, like, the missing groceries and or gas category. But when you look at just one trifecta, that's exactly what you want to look for: is how do you spend your money and which is the best coverage. If you look at each one together, City has the most, Chase has the least, but they do have the best transfer partners, the Chases anyways. City is there kind of, but Chase, I think, has a lot better transfer partners. And so I think that gives us to our next poll here, because I love hearing about what you think is the best trifecta. And the Chase and City is actually kind of cool, because the last poll, you both voted Chase versus City as a top two, but now we're going to do them head to head. So let's go ahead and move on to that as well. So I'm going to move this slider over to the next question. And so again, if you want to join the polling and make sure to have your voice heard, make sure to join menti.com and enter the code that's on the screen here, or use a QR code to scan it to get access to the actual screen. And so what we'll do is we'll move that up here as well. And we will go ahead and get the voting started. Do you prefer the City Star Premier or the Chase Sapphire Preferred? Ready, set, go. And I'm going to vote too. Let's see here. I'm going to vote for my vote here. Submit. All right. So it's still neck and neck. Looks like there's more City Star Premier for now. But it's still fairly even, which is interesting. So we have to see what is going on with that. And so again, if you just joined in, join menti.com on your phone and then enter the code, the 8-digit code. You can vote live, and we can see what you guys prefer for this poll question, which is the City Star Premier or the Chase Sapphire Preferred. And so far, the Star Premier is really the one that's doing the best. And so it's interesting because I still think it's a hot topic, because it's not like one is better than the other to a significant degree. And actually, Chase Sapphire has just caught up at this point, and now, Star Premier is sort of holding on here. I did actually say, sorry, I think I said the question wrong. It's, do you prefer the City Star Premier or the Chase Sapphire Preferred? The cards themselves, not trifecta. So I apologize for that confusion there. But it looks like, I would say it's pretty even, like 15-15. We've got 30 people voting, and there's 150 of you here total right now in the live stream. So I appreciate all of you for being here, but at least 30 of you are participating, which is great. So we're going to stop the polling there. So it looks like it's very even. The Star Premier and the Chase Sapphire Preferred are pretty even. And so it's going to depend on Chase themselves to figure out whether or not that's going to be something they want to deal with or not. Because, with the Star Premier coming out, it's more and more like a competitor to the Sapphire Preferred. And if, the Sapphire Preferred, if they don't change their card, they don't innovate, they may start to drop, but we'll see. They've got a huge marketing scheme, so they got that going on for them. So thanks for voting for that. I'm going to make sure I didn't cover anything here. We have, where am I here? Oh, we have Mr. Joe Barreto in the house. Joe, good to see you. Hola, mi gente. Good to see you. Juan Garcia's putting out his whip. Joe in the house. I love Joe. Joe's such a great guy. He's just such a kind gentleman, and he just, has a lot of great wisdom. And, I love listening to my elders and making sure, sorry, Joe, I know I probably offended you, but I like listening to my elders, and, I want to make sure I learn from their wisdom, because, there's so much to be gained from those who have had more experiences than the rest of us. And then John, go ahead. Joe is saying hello. All right. So John R comes in and says, from an earning perspective, I'm going to put this screen back so you can see things. From the earning perspective, the Star Premier is the better earner when it comes to travel health protections. The Sapphire Preferred is better. So yeah, it really is depending on what you're looking for. Multipliers wise, I think there's no question the Startup Premier is hands down the better card. That's how I prefer it. I think if you take it in context with its benefits and also with its other cards and its ecosystem, it's still a very good card too. We also have Harrison Warner, who says, I think the Attune is a subtle game changer, not really in competition with anything, and creates its own space in the market with Forex special categories. I agree. I think that having those categories is outstanding, and I think that we just need to see more of that going on so the issuers can fine tune what works best, and they can get a lot of data from the spending habits from all of us, so they can figure out what are the best categories to target to make us get a really nice card that we can spend a lot of money on, because they want us to spend money on their cards. Well, if they want us to do that, put multipliers on categories that we want to see. I mean, it's very simple. And so there's that part of it as well. And then Matej Newman says it would be awesome if Citi actually pre-approved for any of their cards. Yes, they are hard to get into, certainly, especially this Citi Premier card. But I heard the Startup Premier was a little bit easier to get to, so maybe if you want to try that may be a possibility just during this limited time welcome offer period. John McCrinchy says the only thing I don't like about the Citi Startup Premier is the spend requirement to get the hotel credit card to offset the annual fee. It's true. They have that $100 credit on the Citi travel portal to offset for the fee, which is good, but it's only on the portal. So I see where you're coming out there. And every time you guys say CSP, I always think Chase Sapphire Preferred because it's like ingrained in my head. So every time you say Citi CSP, I have to have a brain fart, and then I'm like, Citi what? Oh, Citi Startup Premier. So anyways, that's why I'm hesitating when I'm answering these questions, because the CSP for me is like ingrained Chase Sapphire Preferred, which by the way is good marketing from Chase. Just by that nature, but maybe Citi should have chose a different, 3-letter acronym for that. Okay. Juke Daily says, I recently applied for the Blue Cash every day using the apply with confidence. I was approved, but waited over 3 days to accept, so it expired. After reapplying, was hit with a 14-day wait. Why? It's probably because you had 2 applications going on. So just call customer service, see what they can do to help you out. They'll probably be able to rearrange the applications for you so you can get approved for the card. Okay, so I'm going to keep going here. We have RemGB. So RemGB says, with Player 1 and Player 2 Inc. welcome offer referral train, which is what Dugras has called it, he's collected way too many Chase UR points. With 2 kids in school, we only have limited travel opportunities, and whenever we do, we use Chase Travel Portal redemptions to get 1.5 cents per point during peak travel season. He hates to cash out at 1 cent per point due to the allure of 1.5 cent per point travel redemptions. I have even used Chase Travel Portal to book tours and other activities. Am I wrong by stashing too many points? 1.5 cent per point versus 1 is not trivial a difference. Any advice? So this is a big hot topic in the Points and Miles community, and I did make a recent video about what my thoughts are about points and cent per point redemptions. Everyone has a different opinion on this. For point hoarding in particular, I think that it's okay if you have a goal in mind. For example, you're saving up for a big trip, your honeymoon, some anniversary, some kind of graduation thing. Like, that's great to save up points, because that way you're able to get to the redemption level you want to redeem your points at. But I wouldn't hoard points for the specific reason of just hoarding points, because the main point I want to drive home is that points are worthless unless they're used. So you may have a lot of points. For example, you may have 1 million points, any kind of ecosystem. You have 1 million Chase points. That's $10,000 in 1 cent per point, but it's not $10,000 until you redeem those points for $10,000. It's just expected value. It's also could be $15,000 with 1 million Chase points if you redeem them for travel through Chase Travel Portal, which also is not a small amount either. So I see what the dilemma is. So I guess to answer the question for me would be nice, but I think what would be awesome is if you guys answer the question too. So this is the next poll that's going to happen. Before I get into that, I do have Mr. Joe saying, for the $5 super chat, thank you so much, Joe. Appreciate that. To my friend Stanley Critical Key, thank you for being you. I appreciate that, man, so much. And so thank you, Joe, for the super chat. Really, really appreciate it. Again, go ahead and join the poll here. I'm going to go to the question so you can actually see the question. Basically, go to menti.com, enter the code, or use a QR code to get access on your phone to live vote on the question We're going to answer the question. Let's just say that RemGB had 1 million Chase UR points, which is equivalent of $10,000 in cash, 1 cent per point, or $15,000 in Chase travel credit booked through the Chase travel portal of $15,000. So 10,000, 15,000. But again, knowing that these points are useless or worthless if they're not used. What would you do in his situation? That's going to be the question. And here we go. So I'm going to put that up here on the stage here. We can cash out at 1 cent per point or save your points. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do right here. And so again, if he had 1 million points, would you just cash out at 1 cent per point, or would you save your points? Also, I don't know why the credit cards are on there. I think that's just like a bug with the system, but there shouldn't really be credit cards on there. So sorry about that. This is just a work in progress. So I will make sure to correct that the next time I do this live polling. But so far we say that a lot of people are saying save your points, save it for that $15,000 for the Chase travel portal. And then we have some people saying, no, you should get that $10,000 in cheddar now and just, use that, maybe put that into a high yield savings account. You can invest that money, make some more money out of it. Maybe you can invest in a business, invest in your skills. Or, we should, maybe not do that. We have little more for saving points. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to put my banner on the bottom in case you joined late. So we have that going on. Okay. And also Jeremy also says here, time value of money, even a high yield savings account, you can earn compound interest, nothing to sleep on. Very true. I just mentioned that too. So it looks like the 2/3 of you decided that saving points are better or a better option for him than to actually do the cash out of it instead, which is, I think, great. So I think that's awesome. Oh my goodness, we have a big super chat here from my boy, Matt Welcher. $20 super chat. Thank you so much, sir, for that. I'm glad you could join us. We're still going strong here. I did cover your question out a little bit earlier in the live streams. You can check that out in a little bit. But Matt Welcher says, drinks for your fall honeymoon. Yes, I'm super pumped for that honeymoon. It's going to happen later on this year, and we're just saving up for it right now. And so hopefully it'll be a really, really good time. And so, okay, so we're going to stop with the polling here. And so, what am I here? So we're going to go with saving points is what you guys decided to do. And actually, that's actually what I would do too. And so what I would do is, like I said, if you have a lot of points, like $5,000 is not a small amount of money. I think that if you travel, and you do travel just once a year, you could get a lot of value from that. But I would keep them for your points and save them in travel because, that's why you're in this game is you have them. I think I would slow your velocity down. I would say I would not get as many welcome offers, even though it's a good welcome offer, like maybe slow it down a bit because there's no need to really bank the Euro points. There's no goal for it. But if you have them already, just keep them, but then start to burn them in a way that's positive. So I would say instead of taking that economy trip, maybe you could take some really nice trip, like using Qatar Airways, maybe some Q Suites action, maybe stay at Six Senses, because that sounds like a really great thing to do too. I mean, instead of going to, like, for example, the Holiday Inn, go to the Six Senses. I think all those things are something that I would do if I were your position. I know you have kids. I know that you don't travel that often, but if you have a lot of your points to use, you should just use them and get those experiences out there. Especially if you have a family, you can give them a really phenomenal experience, just like Uncle Luke does with his son and his family. Like, you can give your family a really nice experience for the points you have, and then be able to use them at some point redemption rate that you want, which I think is really, really cool. And so I think that's something that we need to do. Cody Little says here, it depends if you could travel soon. If you have 1 million points because you haven't been able to travel, then I'd probably cash out and invest, then use the cash for travel. Also a good point, Cody. I think that's another great way to look at it. I think the question is, if you were to do that, I mean, using the Chase travel portal is almost like using cash. So if you wanted to book the cash on not the Chase travel, book the travel not on the portal, then I think that would be good. But if you were intent on using the Chase travel portal, then you really can get a lot more value if you were going to be able to travel soon. And then John McKinstry comes in and says, to be honest, I have been saving Chase UR points for over 2 years, but now that I just got the Chase Sapphire Preferred, I plan on start using. That's good. I really encourage using those points because, again, points that are just sitting in your account are just wasted points. They're not being used. They're going to devalue over time. And so just make sure that when you're getting these points, there at least should be some level of availability of using them. We have Mr. Xavier coming in with a super chat. Xavier, thank you so much for the super chat of $2. Stan the man. I really appreciate you being here and for being very active in all of our live streams within the credit card creator community. So really appreciate you, bro. And we're going to go ahead and continue on with some more questions. L-Man Gaming comes in with a question, and this is another longer question. He says he's going to go for a mortgage next year, around the middle of the year, so mid-2025. He's got a credit score of 762, and he's 424 with a 221 on hard pulls. He will drop 1524 by December and get this Chase Sapphire Preferred as the last card is what he got. He doesn't want to screw himself over for mortgage rates, which is totally fine. He wants to get the Chase Aeroplan and Unlimited if there's a bonus in December, or the Saver one if there's not a bonus. But I've also become aware that the Chase Business Preferred may not show in his personal credit report. And he doesn't know if the CSP affects getting the Business Preferred. It doesn't, by the way. What's the best course of action, knowing that he wants to get a mortgage in mid-2025, which is about 1 year ago? He's saying that should he grab a card in the next 2 months, or should he grab a Chase card in December, or Saver one if there's no bonus? What is really the best way forward? And so before I answer this question, I do want to point out that I am not a mortgage expert, nor have I personally ever applied for a mortgage, nor do I have my own mortgage. I still rent, so I have no idea about mortgages and haven't personally been through this. So all this stuff is something that I just looked up on the internet. And so take that for what you will. But the internet's a really fun place because you can learn a lot of fun things on the internet. So having said that, when you look at credit scores, they don't use the same credit scores as you would use for credit cards, which typically is Experian FICO 8. What they use are Experian FICO 2, TransUnion FICO 4, and Equifax FICO 5. And the little differences between each one, I'm not too sure about. I can look into it, but I didn't really look into it that much. But generally speaking, what they do is they take those 3 scores, and then they take the median score or the average median score to use. So what that means is if you apply for a mortgage by yourself, they take those 3 scores, and the median of those 3 scores are going to be what they use to approve you for a mortgage. If you apply for a mortgage and there's you and your spouse, for example, they'll take the median of your 3 scores, the median of your spouse's 3 scores, average the 2, and then that gets you the credit score that they're going to use. Generally speaking, if you have 760 plus, you get the best mortgage rates. Now that's kind of a generalization. There's going to be differences here and there, but that's generally what you would look at. And so if you look at his credit score of 762, you're really riding the fine line. And so even a 2-point drop is lower. Of course, that's probably your Experian score for credit cards. I'm not sure what the other scores look like, but assuming that 762 was going to be that median score, you're really riding that line. So really, for a lot of people applying for mortgages, the advice is to have no inquiries between 6 and 12 months. And so for that reason, the question is, what is the next card? Well, we've heard that actually there's going to be an Ink Preferred bonus of $120K coming out in the next couple of weeks. And some people have confirmed they've had that bonus already. Some people say it's going to be relatively soon. I think maybe even tomorrow. I think it's the 23rd or whatever. And then it's going to be online, I think, next month. But there's going to be an offer, and that may be the best time to get the card that you're looking for, because it's almost exactly 1 year from before you apply for the mortgage. The question is, though, do you want to also get the Chase Aeroplan card, or the Unlimited card, or the Saver One card? Because those are also very good questions too, because you want to keep in the game, but you don't want to like mess up your credit score too. And there's no really right answer to this question, but it depends on how much you want each one of these cards. And I think this is a good point to start. And if you were to get a card, what would be that next card? So let's go ahead and join the polling again. I'm going to pull up this question. I believe this is the next question here. Go to menti.com and enter the code that's here, which is an 8-digit code, or scan the QR code to get the polling onto your phone. And I'm going to tap that like button too. I'm going to actually show this so you can see that. And so the question is going to be, if he were to get the Ink Preferred or no card at all, what card would you mention getting, or would you recommend L-Man Gaming to get next? And so ready? Here we go. So we have just get the CIP and let's call it a day. You're done. Got 120K, you're happy. Or should he get the Chase Aeroplan card in December, or the Chase Unlimited, or the Capital One Saver One? Is anyone, what kind of question do you think would be, or what kind of card would you think he'd get the most? And so I'm going to submit my vote here. And so here, oop, looks like maybe it didn't seem to work out. I don't know what happened to my screen here. Let's see if I can join the code here. 1 second. Maybe there's an issue with the voting thing. Can you guys see the poll right now, or is that something that is not able to be seen by you guys? Join here. Nope. Okay. It looks like it's not working at this point, so I'm going to have to go ahead and just take this poll down. So I'm sorry. This is the last question anyway, so actually this worked out pretty well for the time it had. And again, the poll is something that was a test for today, but I think it worked out pretty well. And let me know in the comments down below if that was something that you guys also appreciated. But again, I think that this is what I would do. I wouldn't recommend any of those at all, because when you have a mortgage on deck, I prefer to have at least 12 months of 12 months of no hard inquiries on your report. I'd rather just have just one, and then that's it. So the problem with Chase is that no matter what card you apply for with Chase, whether it be personal or business, Chase hard pulls all applications. So that's a problem, because if you apply for that in December, it will hard pull you and have one on your account for 6 months from now. The problem with Capital One is they hard pull you 3 times: Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. And so if you're taking the median score of all 3 of them, now you have a situation where it's a huge problem. And so I would avoid any Capital One cards within 12 months of applying for a mortgage if you possibly can. And so if you want to get cards and you don't want to miss out on welcome offers, and you really you gotta scratch that itch for whatever reason, the best way to garden is using American Express business cards. And that's because American Express has soft pulls, and their business cards don't report to your personal credit report. And so that is exactly what I would think would be the situation there. And so if you would want to get that as business card, otherwise I would not recommend anything else. Okay, Dalton is here. He says, Stan, on the Chase Aeroplan card, does the 3X Air Canada apply to any flights booked with any airline through Air Canada, or specifically to Air Canada only? I believe it's through Air Canada only, but if you do a transfer through Air Canada, which I have done in the past, it does show up as an Air Canada purchase. So if you do like a transfer partner, for example, that would work with the Air Canada. You should get the 3X with that too. My boy Nkosi is in the house. Hey, Stan, I'm sorry I'm late, but I'll catch the recap. Thank you so much for being here. I think we'll answer your question. Not quite yet, actually. I think you're almost up soon, but I don't think we answered your question quite yet. But I appreciate that. Robert J said the poll died. Yes, it definitely died. So I'm going to troubleshoot that later on. But I got through. I think those were all the questions I had. Yeah, that was the last question. And so we got through all the questions we needed to get through the poll. I really appreciate you guys participating in the poll. We had at most like 30 people on it, which is really, really good. So let me know if you like that kind of poll situation, because I thought it was really cool to see what your opinions are. Some of you guys agree with my recommendations. Some of you did not agree with my recommendations. And so just seeing that in a live format was just a really cool experience. And so hopefully, we can integrate this more into the live stream as well. Vincent Pasquale voting for the Ink Preferred more than the Chase Sapphire Preferred. John McKinstry saying, when applying for a mortgage, it's probably best to consult with a mortgage broker or officer if you want to get a credit card beforehand. I think that's a great idea. I mean, I'm not experienced with mortgages, but I just know, generally speaking, you don't want to apply for a credit card within 6 months of applying for a mortgage, hopefully within 12 months. And certainly, within the mortgage process, you want to make sure everything is just like not done at all, because you don't want to have any credit score issues, because that'll cost you so much money down the line when you get that mortgage and eventually use that for your new home. Okay. All right. So Joe Brito says the poll was fired. Thank you so much, Joe. So yeah, I think that's a great option, and thanks for giving that back. Kuma says, I like the poll, very interactive, of course. Okay, good. So I think I'll keep it. I just have to figure out some fine tuning, see why it died within 90 minutes. I don't know if it was because too many people joined and then left, or maybe it just, I can't have a presentation for longer than a certain time period. I'm using the free version, so I wanted to test it out before I paid for it. So maybe this would be a good opportunity to experiment with that. And John R says 150 watching, 61 likes. Hit the like. Yes, thank you, John, for that. I'm gonna put that up here now that we have that opportunity. Don't forget the like button if you're getting value. I try to put as much value into these as I possibly can. I will probably go over a little today because there's so many questions that were asked, but they're great questions that we can really learn a lot from. And hopefully you get a lot of value when you come to these live streams that I put on once a month, every Saturday. Sometimes it's with me, myself, but sometimes I will integrate another content creator in here as well to get two perspectives. Actually, I'm excited to announce I do have another guest coming on next month. I will leave that guest unnamed. But I will definitely, love doing these lives and making sure that you always get the best value you possibly can. Again, thank you, John, for that announcement there. And Joe as well. Mr. Chantan Patel also is here. What up, Stan? What up, Chantan? Good to see you, man. I hope you said your name right, but I think I got it right. Chatan. I'll go with Chatan. Let me know if I'm wrong or not. Okay. Max Khan, do you have any general travel packing tips for us? And maybe I should go back to like my screen here where I go and see this so you can see. Okay. Do you have any general travel packing tips for us? I do a lot of planning on the money side, but less on the doing side. I don't really have that many because I don't travel internationally super often. I would just say that I've been diving into like things like these packing cubes. Apparently, packing cubes can really save you a lot of space in your luggage. So I've been looking into those to see if I can get, maximize the space in my carry-on and check-in bag. So that would be my, I guess, my one travel tip. Adventures of Wade and Peyton says, what do you think about the United Explorer card with 70,000 offer when I live next to United Hub? I think Explorer card's a great card. And if you fly, we covered this earlier in the stream about the airline credit cards to get. But if you fly United, a moderate amount, admit your credit card is somewhat reasonable, especially with this card getting you two annual 2 free club passes every year, which automatically negate the annual fee of $95. 70K is a very good amount of United points as well. I would just say that because you're in a United hub, if you're not trying to go for upgrades, and I think that's totally fine. It's harder to get the upgrades because of people like, who are 1K, they'll probably get the upgrades more than you. But for the Explorer card in particular, I think that's a great card to get as like a mid-tier United card. And it gets you those free check bags. I think it's the first free check bag as well as a priority boarding. And so those things really just make your United experience so much better. So if you're looking for it and you're in the market for a new United card, this is a great one to get. Oh, John kind of pops in and says, my mortgage lender didn't want me to even looking at credit cards at all while I was shopping for a house to buy until closing was finished. Yeah, I can see that. And I don't know when you actually got the mortgage started, but I would imagine it was somewhat close to when you were going to buy. But yeah, that's definitely good to know. John McChristy did like the polling, so that's perfect. Thank you so much. And then Brian Brownlee has try freezing your Experian account before applying for a Capital One credit card. I've heard of that, where you can freeze two of them and then like let one through, or freeze one and let two through. It's definitely been a way to save on those hard pulls, so definitely worth trying out if you're wanting to see if you can get away with only 2 hard pulls instead of 3. Okay. Wong Wei, good tip here. Make sure you have the correct travel adapters. That's a big one. Yeah, I thought about that. I didn't think about that one, but thank you for pointing that out. I mean, that's a huge thing that we just don't even think about. One other thing too is that I was just off the top of my head. I remember when I used to travel internationally with my parents, they brought toilet paper from home because some of the places that you go, they don't have toilet paper at their bathrooms, and so it becomes kind of awkward. So that may be something to consider if you're going to a country that may not be as developed. And so I would just save space for that in your suitcase as well. Okay. Robert J. Love the poll. Excellent. Dalton says having the poll is very fun. Outstanding. Glad you guys liked it. I'm going to try to make that better for you guys next time so it doesn't mess up. But luckily we got through all the polls in the beginning. So maybe in the future, I'll like put the polls, like front load all of them. So that way we won't have that issue where it like kind of craps out the end of the time. Okay, we do have a lot more questions to cover, so let's kind of keep going. We have Mr. JP Knowledge, who's just one of my buddies and fellow content creators who is very knowledgeable about cents per point and getting the best redemptions for your miles and points. And definitely check out his channel for his content because he actually does a lot of traveling and does this firsthand. So it's firsthand knowledge, which is the best knowledge to have. He asked a question. What do you love most about Marriott cards and the program, and which Marriott type of property do you feel is the best bang for your buck? And also, I want to mention thank you, Sun Win, for the $5 super chat. Have a great weekend. Thank you, sir. You as well. As you know, you guys really know that I like Marriott properties, so this is a great question. And so for Marriott cards in the program, what do I like most about it? Well, their credit cards are nice because they have those free night awards, and they're not the ones you get right away. They are anniversary free night awards. But once you get through that first year, which you should have supplemented with that welcome offer, whichever ones I gave you, hopefully the 5 night free on the, or the 5 free nights on the Bonvoy Boundless or Bonvoy Business, or some kind of like, very high welcome offer on the Bonvoy Brilliant. Once you get into that point where you're getting anniversary free nights, they keep churning and they keep coming back for you, which is nice. Especially if you stay at a lot of properties that are either 85K, so the luxury properties, or even like the budget properties at 35K. And so I really like those cards because you can not only use them, but take the Marriott points and top them up. So you can top the 85K to 100K, or you can top the points off with the 35K to 50K. I don't show the Bonvoy Bountiful or Bevy because, in my opinion, those are pretty stupid cards. I don't think they're worth it. I think you should focus on the cards on the screen here. I think there is some use for them if you want to get a welcome offer, but to me, those cards don't exist because they're useless. If you compare that 15K free night certificates against the Surpass card, those free nights are 50K cap. So 65K total, I think. Or I don't know if you can actually use points for that or not, but they're limited. So they're not as good, and the annual fees are much higher. And so I wouldn't even look at those. And so we have here Matt Welchers here. He says, Stan's videos have molded me into a Marriott loyalist. For sure, Matt. It's a great, definitely a great property to have, especially for you too, because you're traveling kind of more to South America, Central America. They have plenty of properties down there. And so that's going to really serve you really well when you start to travel down there a lot more. So the reason why I like them in general is because of their convenient and numerous properties. And so another question though was, what property do I think is the best bang for your buck? And what that means is by cash, by points, either one. I would say that there are a lot of properties in the Marriott ecosystem, as I show in the screenshot here. But the one that I have found the most value in, bar none, are the Westin properties. And I put these properties up because these are the ones I've actually stayed at in the past before. Now, if we look back at the previous slide, Westin does fall into the premium category. So when you stay at a Westin, you'll notice that it's not like a Courtyard or a Residence Inn or a Fairfield Inn. Like you can feel they call it select, but you can kind of feel the budget in them. They're not like that budget, but they're budget enough where you're like, well, this is not like the best property I could stay in. When you stay at a Westin property, you do feel the premium part of that. And so every Westin is going to be different, though. They're not all going to be the same. But what I have found to be consistent among all Westin properties is that their cash value of their rooms are very low. Now, that means that your cent per point redemption will also probably be low too, but they are still low enough that you can use these 35K free night certificates without any kind of boost on them. So you can just use a certificate for these ones and it's fine. And the reason why I like it so much is at the top, you can see there, that's the Westin at the Los Angeles airport. When I fly to international destinations or across the country, that sort of thing, LA is kind of busy. And so there's a lot of traffic and a lot of those flights fly in the morning. And so for me, I really like to stay in a hotel the night before, so I don't have to worry about the traffic moving in next. And so I generally use my 35K certificates to book a airport hotel like the Westin, and I can stay at the hotel and I can be fresh, ready to go the next morning, or I can just take a shuttle bus to the terminal and then be at the airport, and it's totally fine. So that's what I like for that one. The issue with this Westin is there is no free breakfast for Platinum members. However, other properties, for example, the Westin San Francisco in Union Square, which I have stayed as well in the past, does have free breakfast for Platinum members. And so that was about 6 to 8 months ago. So maybe they've changed, but I don't think they have. So different Westin properties can give you pretty good value. And because this is, this property gives you free breakfast at 35K points a night, that's pretty good. Again, cent per point, it's not going to be great. It's like 0.6, maybe 0.7 if you're lucky. for Marriott, but those are the ones that I found the most value on when it comes to Marriott properties. The other properties, Courtyards, Fairfields, what have you, they have the basic like zero point 0.6 to zero point 0.8 cents per point. You can get some really good redemption on like maybe a Ritz Carlton or something like overseas. But for the most part, I fly mostly domestically, and this is where you get the most value for Westons, pretty much in any area of the country of the United States. And so there's that. The next question is Nikosi's question, otherwise known as Nubia Rising. Hope you're still here in the chat. I don't know if you have left or not, but this is your question. And it is, hey, Stan, I will likely earn Marriott Titanium Elite status in 1 or 2 months, like you. Wondering if you think the effort is worth it and why. And that's a very interesting question, because if you look at what I've done, or if I look at what I've done, I've only stayed on Marriott property once, and this year. And I didn't really get a lot of value Titanium Elite wise versus Platinum wise. So I did have an M Club at that property I stayed at, but it was accessible to Platinum and above. So Titanium Elite didn't really help me in that situation. Also, I didn't get an upgrade at that hotel either, so that didn't seem to help either. What I have, though, gotten the most value from the Titanium Elite status, though, is actually the other benefit on the card, or benefit on that Elite status, which is actually the Premier status for United, where you get United Premier Silver status for free with Bonvoy Titanium. And I have done several United flights, and I have been Premier Silver, and I've gotten 3 things. I've gotten priority boarding. I think it's Group 2 for United. I have gotten a free check bag, so that has saved me some money. And most importantly, the same day that you book a flight, and when you check in, you can upgrade yourself for free to an economy plus seat if one is available. And that can be $120 to $180 per seat. And so doing that twice, I was able to get at least $300 out of that, which was awesome. And United Economy Plus seats are quite spacious for me, being not super tall, like Spencer Johnson. And so because I'm kind of a average size person, like I can get a lot of space with the Economy Plus seats. And so that's exactly why I would say that's the most benefit I got from Titanium Elite. Again, I haven't experienced most of it yet. So I'm not sure if I'm going to renew Titanium Elite, but because based on my travel patterns, I only fly domestically, and I don't see any reason as of yet where Titanium has gotten me more value than Platinum. And so hopefully that's the question. I see that you are still here, by the way. So thanks for stopping by, of course. We have another Marriott-based question from Mr. Deli Belly. Deli Belly asks, have you ever been to Bangkok or Phuket? If you've been, have you stayed at any Marriotts there? I just depleted 270,000 Marriott Bonvoy points and 3 free night certificates from the American Express Business Bonvoy welcome offers for 2 weeks. So first of all, that is awesome, Deli Belly. Congratulations on the really awesome redemption. Like, I don't care what the cent per point is. You're able to go to Bangkok and Phuket for 2 weeks for essentially no cost, which is great, So 2 weeks is a long time. That's 14 days. And all those days, you're not really spending, any money on the lodging portion of your trip. And of course, because you're using points, I'm sure you're using that 5th night free on Marriott to get that extra added value. So if you stay at least 10 days with points, that's 2 free nights. Then you have the 3 free night certificates on top of that. And so you're really chaining things together, which is what I recommend to everyone doing, is to use those FNCs and just chain them together with the redemptions you're doing with your points. And you can make a really, really nice redemption if you stay at those, properties. Now, $270K for those properties, you're looking probably at things like a Courtyard or like a Fairfield Inn, which, by the way, overseas, they look really nice anyway. So I wouldn't hate on those or anything, but you're not going to get things like, the Ritz Carltons or the W's or those higher properties at those places. Having said that, you are going to Bangkok and Phuket. And for me, I have been booking those now because I am looking at for my honeymoon later on this year, which will actually be in Bangkok and Phuket as well. But I've noticed that the cost of those hotels are very cheap. So the cent per point valuation you get on those Marriott hotels are also cheap too. So you're getting maybe like 0.6 to 0.7 cents per point on those redemptions. It gets a little bit higher if you use that 5th night free, but for the most part, it's nothing to write home about other than you're using points to book the property instead of cash, which I totally would love to do because I have a lot of, if you have a lot of points, you want to use those points. You don't have them sitting down right there in the point bank there. So that's kind of for me. I haven't been to Phuket in many years, but I have been in the past, and so I'm looking forward to going there in about a couple months. Well, 6 months or so, and then have the honeymoon there. So this is a picture of Thailand. So I love, the difference between Bangkok, which is very urban but has some cultural charm to it, and then Phuket also is a really great place to go just to relax. You've got like the beautiful beaches, as well as a lot of resorts there that have their own private islands or private beaches that you can go to as well. So really looking forward to having some days there. And for you, Mr. Deli Belly, having 2 weeks there is going to be an awesome time. So I really hope you have a good trip, and definitely hope that you get some good time spent there and a good vacation out of that trip. Okay, so we're on a break. I am at noon. I do have a lot more, not a lot more. I have one more section to go through, so I want to keep going on the questions here. We have the Keith show. Keith answered or had a lot of questions for me on the community post, so we'll go through them one by one. He asked, since Bilt and Wells Fargo are in the news, what changes or improvements would you make to the Bilt card/program? Do you have the Bilt card? And so I do have the Bilt card. And so what he's referring to is this Wall Street Journal article, what was posted about a week ago, where they said that Wells Fargo was losing $10 million a month on Bilt. They said the contract expires in 2029, and Wells Fargo has been quoted to say that current cardholder behavior isn't providing a path to profitability. That's what Wells Fargo says. I know the CEO of Bilt also kind of came back and disputed some of those claims on the Wall Street Journal article, but the point is, it's that Wells Fargo is losing money on the Bilt card. That's fine. Whether it be considered to be advertising budget versus marketing budget is going to be a question, but that is a lot of money to be losing to acquire new customers. And so for me, the Bilt card is a core part of my setup. For me, I use it for 3x of non-mobile wallet dining. And for me, that helps because there is that 5 credit card transaction you need to use to get those points for the rent on your card too. So I use it for rent as well, obviously. And so to make it better, and I know the question was to make it better for me, what I would like is, do you need those 5 transactions per month? I think they probably do, because if they didn't have that, I probably, to be honest, wouldn't use the card at all. But I would like to have that taken off if you can. If you're asking me my honest opinion, that's what I would recommend. And then the second would be, can there be better multipliers on the card? Because maybe if you took away the transactions per month, but you had a multiplier that I could use and maybe put an annual fee on there, I may be still willing to use the card. A lot of people may not be into that idea of having an annual fee on the Bilt card, but it's a link towards profitability. For me personally, if you gave me a good reason to spend an annual fee on the card, I would do it. You just have to make a good, compelling reason to me to do it. One other thing is I want to make sure that they improve the transfer partners at Wells Fargo and Bilt. So for Bilt specifically, they're going to get rid of AA, which is totally sad. I think it's going to leave in the next 4 days. So just a PSA, if you guys want AA transfers to happen, you want to do that now as opposed to later, because it's going to close on the 26th and then it'll be gone forever. They did put Alaska on there, so that's positive. So definitely keep that in mind. And also, I think Hilton is laughable because they put Hilton on there, but it's a 1-to-1 transfer, which is, why would you ever do that if Hilton is 1-to-2 with MR points, which you wouldn't do anyways. But the fact that you're going to give us 1-to-1 is like, you're not, it's like no one's going to do that, right? Unless you didn't know. And so I wouldn't do a Hilton. I would increase Hilton 1-to-2, so you're actually competitive with people like American Express, who do give you 1-to-2 right off the bat. And so that's kind of what I would recommend or what I would like to see improved in the Bilt MasterCard from my personal standpoint. I do have this other question here by Nikopoli, which is a little bit longer, but he has 2 questions. The first is, how do you value transferable currencies versus cashback? He's talking about my setup in particular. So you have both the Bilt MasterCard and the Premium Rewards Elite credit card. You choose to use the Bilt card for non-mobile wallet spending, dining purchases, which gives you 3x back, which I just mentioned before. But the PR Elite gives you 3.5x back. So why are you choosing a lower multiple back? What is the thinking and the thought process about that? Which is a very good question. The second question is, when you decided to switch your credit card strategy, you first had the AMX Blue Business Plus as your catch-all, but then changed it to the BofA Premium Rewards Elite credit card. Could you give details on what you look for in a true catch-all credit card? And yes, I will definitely get into that. So first questions first. So that's about the Bilt card versus the Bank of America Premium Elite credit card. So what he's referring to is you get a higher multiplier on the Premium Elite credit card at 3.5x, but a lower one on the Bilt card. So the reason why I'm using the Bilt card is number one, I got to make those 5 transactions. I want to do it organically and not take time out of my day to do it. So I'm going to do it for non-wallet dying. It's kind of a thing I can do just in general. So I'll definitely hit at least 5 of those transactions. So I don't really think about that. The second thing though is that these Bilt points, if you transfer them correctly, like everyone talks about, you can get more than just 1 cent per point on it. You can get higher than that, like 1.25, 1.5, 2. Hyatt is still available as a transfer partner, so that's still a viable option, although I probably wouldn't do that. The point is I can get more than 1.25 cents per point on my Bilt card, which is something that I cannot do on my Premium Rewards Elite credit card. So that 3.5x dining is actually going to be what it is. But then if you use the Airline Boost, the Elite credit card, if you use the Make America Travel Portal Boost, you can get a higher bonus off of that too. But because I spend so little on that card compared to my main card, which is the US Bank Altitude Reserve card, I don't really accrue enough points to really take advantage of that 1.25 cent per point boost on the Bank of America card to any significant degree. So what I've come down to now is I've actually used that Primos Elite credit card as a cashback card. I don't even bother with an airline redemption because I use this card so little now. So now I just automatically have it on auto redemption as a cashback 1 cent per point. Because, if I'm getting like $2 to $10, a month on this card, that's going to take me forever to get some reasonable transaction to do one way airline flight. And so it's just not worth it. However, Bilt, I can continue to get a lot of points. I get at least, 2,000 plus points on the card from rent. And then you also add in the dining purchases at 3x, plus the rent day stuff you get for 2x for everything else, 4x on travel, 6x on dining, and you can add it up together. And then that gets you a better ecosystem to get more points. And so that's kind of why I would use the Bilt card, or why I personally use a Bilt card for dining as opposed to the Bank of America Premium Elite credit card. Okay. And then we also have the second question, which is the catch-all card. So why am I using the Premium Rewards Elite credit card for catch-all as opposed to the Blue Business Plus? And so they both get around 2x, right? BVA gets a little bit more. The same argument applies for American Express because the MR points can be booked for 2 cents per point or higher. So really, you could probably get a better redemption with those MR points. But here's really the way I look at catch-all credit cards. A catch-all credit card is a card you can use anywhere with no restrictions. That is my definition of a catch-all credit card. And by definition, American Express can never be that card because there are places internationally, even domestically, where you can't use American Express. And so if I'm looking to use this card as a catch-all and the place doesn't accept American Express, it doesn't matter it's a catch-all card because I can't use it. So I have to have the catch-all card be a MasterCard or a Visa because those are pretty much universally accepted everywhere. And so the best Visa card in my portfolio that can serve this purpose, both domestically and with no foreign transaction fees, is going to be the Premium Rewards Elite credit card. And that's why I use that as my catch-all credit card. And I noticed that like a long time ago, I was like, I really can't use my Blue Business Plus as a true catch-all credit card because of the fact that it's simply an American Express. Okay. So that's that question. The next question is from Keith. He says, what type of spend do you use to hit welcome offers? Everyday spend, or do you time large purchases around welcome offers, or insurance, parking, utilities, maintenance, etc.? Everyone has a way of doing welcome offers, right? And so for me, the way I do it is very, very simple and easy to figure out. Basically, if you have a welcome offer and it's $8,000 or less in 3 months, which is kind of the standard, it could be less than that. It could be like, some variable. I'm going to take every purchase and put it on the card. And that's it. So that's how you get there organically, right? However, if I get a card that typically has a higher, a higher welcome offer in terms of a higher minimum spend requirement, then I'm going to think about it strategically and know I have a big purchase coming up. And that's especially good for the Business Platinum because it has that 1.5x category if you spend $5,000 or more on a single purchase. And so generally speaking, with things like the business or cards of the Business Gold or Business Platinum, I'm literally doing those welcome offers in like 1 or 2 transactions. But for the other types of cards, typically I do them in multiple transactions that are more everyday purchases. And so that's actually what my strategy for the welcome offer is going to be and is going to be in the future. And then Keith also asked, is 524 still good? It's ruining my fun. I hate gardening. So Keith, yes, we had a running joke where I made this video maybe about a year ago where I said the title of the video was why Chase 524 is a good thing. And it really Keith was all over that one. But basically the reason why I said it was a good thing is because you have to use that as a way to build out your credit card strategy. If you had no Chase 524, I think a lot of who trying to go off the chain a little bit and just apply for so many cards and make it a little out of hand. But because of Chase 524 and you respect Chase 524, you don't have as many credit cards as you want to have, which is good or bad depending on how you look at it. It's bad that you don't get a lot of welcome offers, but it's good that you are actually thinking critically about your next credit card, which is what I want to really tell to people, because it's the way to think about credit cards is to be strategic about it, not to just apply for them willy-nilly. Again, if you want to garden, but at the same time get credit cards, American Express business cards are the best way to do that, because you can garden in the meantime because they don't have any hard pull. So you have a soft pull as long as you have one personal American Express credit card. And the best way to garden is also because they don't show up on your credit report. So those two things make them very ideal for being able to be used as welcome offer cards while you are gardening your Chase 524 status. And so the last question is from Nick. Nick asks, have you ever had your identity stolen? And is there anything you do or buy to prevent it other than checking your credit report often? I am very fortunate to have not had my identity stolen. I do have multiple credit monitoring services, so I will know right away if that has happened or not. And I basically, do all the standard stuff, keep your credit reports frozen, make sure you have a lot of monitoring services, and just to be safe with your data. Like, don't show off any revealing personal identifying information as best as you can. Obviously, I say that being a credit card YouTuber, but you have to be very careful about what you show, in my opinion, to the public, because that can get out and then they can, use that data to do very, very bad things. Okay, so I think that's the end of the slideshow. So thank you so much for going through that. I have missed a ton of questions here from the top, so I apologize. I know you guys have been talking to each other in the chat because I've been looking over a little bit. So I really appreciate you keeping the conversation going, but I will be on here for like 15 minutes or so just to answer some last minute questions. If you asked it from before, just ask it again, because I'm not going to go back up there and check it out, because I just can't. But it looks like I'll just start here with Mr. Clairvoyant. Thank you for stating this in reference to the catch-all card stuff. I use the Alliant Credit Union Cash Rewards cards, aka 2.5% on the first 10K per month. There's no foreign transaction fees, and it's a Visa. That's great. That is actually another great catch-all credit card if you don't want to go through the Bank of America route. That's a great card. I mean, it's the Visa, no foreign transaction fees. It's definitely a card that is really worthwhile of your consideration for a true catch-all credit card. It also has no real annual fee. There is that, you have to keep money in their account, but it's not nearly as high as Bank of America. You have to, keep a credit union checking account open. Robert J uses the Venture X as a catch-all internationally, so that's great. It is a great catch-all card too. Visa, 2X, no FCFs. I love it. Ava1314 says US dollar is strong. Best time to go overseas travel. Thailand hotels are cheap. $50 can easily get a nice 3 stars. Yes. So definitely Thailand has cheap hotels by cash. And so it will make your cent per point redemption lower. But again, depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for just redeeming your points, I think that's fine. If you want to save it for another higher redemption, probably not the best place to redeem in Thailand. But think about kind of the 5th night free benefit or the 4th night fee from IHG. Those are all things to consider too. Okay. DC Gemini says, Hilton card fee hits next month. Should I downgrade on the 12-month mark or wait until the fee hits? I don't want to pay the fee at all, but do you have to pay it then downgrade? So we talked about this a lot in the earlier part of this live stream, but if this is your first year with the Hilton Aspire, I don't even know what the Hilton card fee. I'm going to assume it's the Hilton Aspire. If it's the Hilton Aspire or Surpass, you need to wait until the annual fee posts on the card first, and then do whatever you need to do within the first 30 days, and then you'll get that annual fee refunded right back to you in the full amount. That's what I'd recommend to do. But if this is your second, third, fourth year, you can downgrade or cancel at any time. You'll just get a prorated refund from the annual fee you didn't use from that previous year. Okay. Uh, Yuri says, Bilt is overhyped. 3x on dining is nothing special. I don't pay rent or have mortgage. Well, if you don't pay rent or have a mortgage, you probably don't need this card either. The Bilt card is kind of meant for that. And so I agree. The 3x dining is nothing special because there's plenty of cards that have that. That's even better. Truthfully, if I didn't have rent or mortgage, I wouldn't have the Bilt card either. I would just probably use my premium rewards elite credit card because I don't really mind having a hashback set up. Because for everyday stuff, I don't really spend too much money on that. And so, having those points is nice, but it's not like, I'm getting a lot of points in any particular way. John R says, devil's advocate stand, if you don't care about chase cards, then 524 is a non-factor. Very true. If you don't care about chase cards, it is non-factor. I say though that when you look at the hemisphere or when you look at the places, all the different issuers, when you look at all of them, Chase and AMX have the best welcome offers, and there's like no competition, right? And so to have that basically and take Chase out of the question, you could do that, but you're really missing out on a lot of good welcome offers. And so I personally think that having Chase 524 is not a great thing, but it is something that you should think about considering in your credit card portfolio because the welcome offers for Chase are really that good. But could you get away with having no Chase cards? Of course you can. There's plenty of welcome offers. I would just say that Chase has a lot of really good ones that, I don't think should be overlooked. Okay. Let's see here. Any questions down here? A lot of you guys are. Yuri G saying US Bar is the best catch-all card. I agree with you, Yuri. I use it for my catch-all card, and it is phenomenal. And then Nubia says, United Silver status from Marriott Titanium would be clutch. I think there may be a 25% point boost over Titanium, as well as a shot at another Marriott gift. Example, 5 night upgrade awards, gold set. Yes, that's right. So at the 50 night mark, so when you say 50 nights at Marriott, you do get an award, which would be either the 5 night awards, upgrade awards, gold status gift. And that's something to think about too. So while you're on the path to Titanium Elite, you will cross 50 nights no matter what you do because you have the cards, Brilliant, and as well as the business to get you at least 40 nights. So at least 10 nights you'll get to that 50 point. And then that way you'll be able to get those upgrade nights. And, again, Titanium Elite, I haven't found it to be, for my situation, anything different than Platinum Elite. And, for me, I do want to start branching out a bit. I'm super bullish and super excited about starting IHG and seeing how I can work that system. Since you guys are like at the end of the stream here, I'll just let you know that I did get an IHG credit card, which that watch me apply will come out soon. I wanted to put some more videos out first before I put that out. And then the second is that I recently bought IHG points at a 100% bonus. As you guys know, may or may not know, between the 20th of June and 29th of June, there's a targeted bonus depending on what you see in your IHG app. And for me, luckily, it was 100%. And so I basically maxed that whole thing out. So I bought $2,500 of IHG points, and I got 500,000 of them. So I'm going to use all of those. I've already redeemed about half of them for IHG properties. And right now I have 3 intercontinentals booked for this year. And so more on that later, but I'm really excited to go into IHG. But I will have some Marriott stays in the remainder of the year to see what Titanium Elite can do for me, both domestically as well as internationally. But I'm definitely going to see what that IHG is like. And if I like it, hopefully, it'll be one of those properties that I can start staying at more often. Oh, and I'll also probably end up buying ambassador status too, because I do have a lot of intercontinental hotels booked on those points as well. And so, perfect. That Boy Quick says, thoughts on the Robinhood card? I would just say that it is not for me. If you want to invest in Robinhood, that's totally cool. I personally would not do that, but it is a good card at 3% back on everything. Let's see here. Ian says, talking of United cards, the Infinite has a 90K miles sign-up bonus plus 10K for authorized user and referral, and you can pay for the fee, which is $525 with 30,000 miles. Solid value, and hello, United Lounge. Yeah, I mean, if you travel a lot with United, that club lounge is solid. I would definitely say get that card if you travel with United often, because having United Club access, it's great. They have very nice clubs, and when I've been there, they haven't really been super full. Of course, I don't go like that often, but it's definitely less full than the Centurion Lounge or like those other places, the Capital One Lounge or the Sapphire Lounge, which I see lines on all the time. Okay. Charming one says, Stan, easiest way to find the last 5 credit cards. I like to find out when the 5th card drop off. I don't know what that's in reference to, so I apologize for that. But easiest way to find the last 5. Um, oh yeah, so I think what he's talking about is Chase 524. Yeah, I think you just have to organize in a way that you know when that last card will drop off, and then you will know kind of what your Chase 524 status is. So that's the end of the chat here. It's been a little bit over. It's 12:20, and I really appreciate you guys being here. So I'll probably end the stream here. Again, I really appreciate you guys coming to the stream today. It's been a really fun Saturday. I really hope you like that live polling option. It's going to probably make its way and be in my presentations from now on, because I really love hearing your takes on these questions. I can always recommend things myself, but if you guys also put in your voices too, we can have a discussion and figure out exactly what would be the best situation or best option for the person who asked the question on that community post. And so again, I love doing this lives. We'll do this once every month on a Saturday. It's a beautiful June day, and we go out and experience that as well, and hope you guys do too, wherever you are listening from. Again, thank you so much for being here. Again, before you go, if you do me a huge favor and go ahead and leave a like button if you're getting value, and just leave one when you leave, I would really appreciate that. And of course, I will, try to do my best to make that poll thing happen a little bit easier next time. And with that all being said, thank you for everyone being here, and I will see you guys all in my next video. Take care, guys.